Whoa. Good morning. Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello. I wonder if I'm really live. Am I really live? Am I really live? Ooh, is everything a musical? Good morning. Where is everybody? Nobody likes me. Damn it. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. Anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm just going to see if I am actually live because I've fucked it up the last couple of days. So, you know what I'm saying. Let's see, where's my channel? Where's my channel? Yeah. Oh, I am live. Oh, it's true. Nobody does like me. Damn it. Did they not think I was? No, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, good morning. How is everyone? I hope you're good. It's been a long week, hasn't it? And I haven't even been on the whole week, but it's been a long week and everyone has persevered. I don't think I'm live. Oh, yeah, I am live. Let me just look at this. I'm getting tough to find. What's happening? Oh, it's because I'm late. Okay. Wait. There I am. Okay. Oh, I look really tired. Good morning, Neil. How are you? Good morning, sunshine. The earth says hello. Let me pull up my other thing. Well, actually, I'm just going to chat for a minute. But good morning. Guten Morgen, one might say. Let me see if this was the one I wanted. That might not be it. That might not be it. I'm going to get rid of that. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Am I getting tough to find? What does that mean? I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. I'm good. You know what it is? Can I just tell you? I started taking like 1 milligram of melatonin a night. I sound like I'm whatever. I got a frog in my throat. Um, and it fucks me. Oh, like I sleep. I can't see the ocean. No, I'm not that close. Dang, that would be amazing. And way out of my price range. This isn't even in my price range. My daughter is the breadwinner in the family. Thankfully, she's so wonderful. But no, but I can get to the ocean pretty easily, probably about 20 minutes. We should take a drive. I'll do that. I'm going to take a drive with us one of these mornings. Maybe another Friday morning we'll do it on the road. Ooh, what a good idea. Oh, we should definitely do a show from the road in the morning. Oh my God. Because I could do that. And we could read news stories and stuff, but we could be looking at the beach. Oh, we got to do that. That's it. We got to do that. We have got to do that. Period. It means I can't find the billboards for the days. I know. And oh, you know why? I know why. Something is wrong between my streaming platform and it's not creating thumbnails on the new. I got to figure that out because it's supposed to be creating thumbnails for the new lives and it's not for some reason. I don't quite understand that. It used to. So I'm not sure what changed. So I'll have to figure that out. Mm. Oh, but good morning. It will be fun, won't it? Well, I mean, it'll be something else to look at anyway. That would be nice. It would be nice to have something else to look at. But yeah, no, but it's a great place. It's actually not that yeah, Lolo's Lounge on the beach. Ooh. Ooh. Nuts on the beach with Lolo. No. I don't know. Yeah, I know. But oh my God, I'm a little sweaty. I think I should get I feel like I need a fan in my Oh, I know. Wait, hold on. Wait, I think I have a solution. Solution. Neil, it's just you and me today. Isn't that great? Maybe you can do a Pacific Sunset version. Oh, I'll definitely do that. Oh, we could do that for a trivia. Because I could still ask you trivia if I'm just using my phone. Hold on. I gotta reach this one thing. This is the answer. I also don't have any clean clothes, so I have to wear like whatever is clean. Let me see if I can. How do I do this? How do I turn this on? How do you turn this on? Hmm? Oh. I guess it's dead. Dang. Okay. That's all right. That's okay. We're gonna just do a different solution. I know. Hi, meowing, and segue into trivia. Yeah, exactly. I do love my neighborhood, and the thing is I lived. I mean, this is basically central Hollywood, and I lived in Hollywood just a few blocks, like to the north, um, like north and west. I lived there when we moved from downtown Los Angeles to Hollywood. And so we're really only living like 10, we moved like literally within a half hour drive. No, 20-minute drive is the three places we've moved to. It's kind of crazy, but I love it. It's very walkable. It's basically central Hollywood, so it's just like I can go get coffee. I can find a grocery store. There's a grocery store down the street. So it's really much more convenient. And I can get to, I am also going to take us to Runyon Canyon, which is a huge hiking spot in Los Angeles that I love very much. And it's right in the heart of Los Angeles in the Hollywood Hills. And it's a beautiful trail. And so I'll take us up to Runyon Canyon one of these days. It'll be great. It's a great location. It makes me very happy. This place makes me much happier than the place we were in, which I love my neighbors so much. They were the sweetest people. Oh my goodness. But it just wasn't a walkable neighborhood and there was nothing around to get to. And so it just was for me, it was very depressing. I mean, restaurants, we don't really, but you know what it is? It's good grocery stores. Like there's a Trader Joe's that we could walk to. And that for us is a game changer. When we can have like a really good like grocery store near us and we want to cook. We don't want to eat out anymore because we were doing that a lot. And we decided to put the money into an apartment versus in a place that we want to live in versus keeping ordering delivery and shit like that. Anyway, that's way more information that you need. Thanks, Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. Meowing. Good morning, meowing store. Good morning, meowing store. Ooh, but it'll be fun. We'll have fun. It'll be fun. It's a better place for me mentally. It's a much better place for Bobo, closer to her job. So she can actually walk to work in the morning. And that's amazing, right? Like that's totally amazing if she wants to. Mm, that would be amazing. That would be totally amazing. So she's having fun. She's having a lot of fun. Hey, Dean, how are you? Is that a fake background or no? This is my bedroom. And it's not terribly spacious, but maybe the filter makes it look more spacious. I don't know. But I have a slider in my bedroom and I get to walk outside anytime I want to. And that to me is basically the meaning to life. I know it's so good for Bobo because she was really feeling it. It was just a pain in the ass to get to work. And so this changed the game. And she works like, I don't know, 8 to 8 at night. So she has a 12-hour day. It looks big, but it's normal size bedroom. It's not really that special. Uh but she can get home within like 10 minutes and actually have a little bit of an evening and maybe have a dinner at a reasonable hour. So that's what I care about and it's really helpful. So, yeah, really good. Good. Everything's good. And we're moving on up. I'm actually so happy. I can't even tell you how happy I am about this place. It really made a huge difference in my life. And so that's great. And I hope housing does that. Housing is really miraculous and housing is really important. And it affects where you are, affects your brain. And I think that it's good to find a place where you can feel a little more at ease. And I can feel more at ease in this place. It's very peaceful, and I get to sit outside a lot, which is so that's just it for me. I just wanna sit outside. I just wanna be outside. So, hopefully we'll figure it out. Um, but yeah, I just think it's yeah, it's good. It's good to find a nest. It's good to have a nest. People are yeah. I heard there's another no. So I heard Murkowski is a no. And is there someone else? Did Tom Tillis finally grow a spine and realize that he should stop supporting child rapists and their lawyers? I don't know. I don't know. Well, let's check the headlines, but I'll tell you, between our beautiful sister, Meowing Star, and between our beautiful sister, Meowing Star, uh, I was able to get so many good articles that we're going to read today, because today we're going to talk a lot about what's happening in the trans community. Thanks to Meowing Star for bringing that very graciously. And so I have a ton of wonderful, wonderful articles and updates to give us a better feel for what is happening in the trans community and why it is still it is what I believe is the current um the strongest backlash, right? And that's among many, right? That's like with DEI being completely decimated and attacked and completely vilified. And but I feel like the ire, just from my perspective, feels very much like the ire is pointed at trans children in particular, and families, and individuals. So I think it's what a great opportunity to really dig in and get up to speed. I'd love to do these kinds of things every once in a while just to kind of get back on track about what's happening for our brothers and sisters um who are out there trying to live their fucking lives. And that to me is just like the point. How in the world? How in the world can you just not allow someone to live their own life? I don't know. I just can't. Um So, yeah, let's take a look quickly at the headlines, and then I'll dive into these wonderful pieces that are. It's going to be probably a tough morning, but it's an important morning, and I really, again, just want to thank Meowing Star for sharing all of those, because that was a lot of work to put that together. U.S. hiring slumps, worrying sign for the economy. Oh, really? Oh, really? Susan Collins. Oh, Susan Collins is now realizing that she has to be a little bit better. She has to be a little bit careful, because apparently she has more progressive voters in her state than she realized. Sorry, Susan. You have a lot more progressive people in Maine than you thought you did. You know, when I lived in Maine, I worked at the Grief Support Center for Children. And one of our programs was working with the local Catholic charities who were working alongside the Office of Refugee Resettlement and resettling a lot of Somali refugees and other refugees from African countries in Maine, because it was one of the official ORR, Office of Refugee Resettlement sites. And so when I was working in Maine, and this was this started in like 2000. This was a while ago. This was 25 years ago, 26 years ago. The center then started a program specifically for refugee children and grieving. I'm going to read that one too, Teresa. Yeah, thanks to Gal for sharing that. Independent of what I was doing with Meowing, and so I want to make sure I read that, because that was really it's going to be get your tissues out. Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying, but that's okay. Oh, it's because yeah. So in Maine, in 2000, I recall that we were working with a lot of the Somali population in Portland, Maine, and surrounding areas as they settled. And of course, coming from refugee camps and other things, there was, one might understand, a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, a lot of loss. And so we started with programs working with leaders in the Somali community, a very respected religious leader and others, to gain the trust and conduct programs that were multicultural and advised by people who were experts and individuals from the community. It was a beautiful program. I just want to say that. It was one of the most beautiful programs I've ever seen. It was parents, children, caregivers from Somalia, from other countries that were impacted and under the refugee program, and coming together and working through grief together. And I was so proud of the people I worked with who really focused on how do we know a little bit about how people respond to grief, right? Children in particular, that was their area of focus, but we would support the whole family. But how do you then translate that into a whole different set of trauma coming from a refugee situation or, et cetera, loss of family, exposure to violence, all the things. So I'm very proud of the people I worked alongside who knew enough that they didn't know enough, but they wanted to help. And so we were able to offer free programs. All of our programs were always free. And they're amazing. And to this day, that place is amazing. And it just changes families, right? And so I just saw this program unfold that was really focused on culturally what was happening for these kids and their families. And the marriage of concepts of both kind of the Western grief support model, which I don't think it's a Western grief support model, by the way, but the kind of that those modes that we would be in, mixed with the modes that the community brought to us that would be helpful. I mean, it was what I thought programs should be. Okay. And I'm sure it wasn't perfect, and I'm sure there was, whatever, but I'm going to tell you right now, there was an immense amount of feeling of success among everyone involved in that. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And so I think people have amazing abilities to welcome and engage with people. And even if you don't understand exactly what that person might have gone through, that all you have to do really is hold out your hand and say, how can I help? That's the first part. And I guess I don't really understand when it comes to even the trans community, why people wouldn't, instead of joining in the chorus of hate, why wouldn't you extend your hand to another human and say, what can I do? How can I help? And I know we're not perfect, and I know, I have plenty of bitter Betty bullshit in my heart. I'm not trying to be some kind of perfect person, but there is a basic place I start. And that is that every human has dignity. And what you're going through, I may not understand. Good morning, gal, my love. How are you? I may not understand what you're going through, but I'm here to listen. Jenner cried to Trump when she looked many trans people could no longer get an accurate passport, and he completely ignored her. Bittersweet because it's Jenner, but yeah, we deserve accurate ID. Yes. Yeah. Humans. Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah. What's happening in Kansas, what's happening with passports is bullshit. And, I don't know enough about Caitlyn Jenner's I've seen her political leanings, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that. I just don't know. I don't get it. I did see that she was upset that she had to change her passport and stuff like that. And I hope she speaks out. I mean, I want people like that to speak out. I don't know why this part's flat. Got a lopsided hand. I mean, I'm glad she spoke out, but at the same time, I think she could have spoken out a lot earlier. But you know, again, it's hard for me to judge because I'm not a member of the trans community, and so I want to be careful about not judging. But it doesn't seem to me that Caitlyn Jenner represents the trans community in an inclusive, like all-knowing way. And I know that she was a Republican or is a Republican, and she was a Republican prior to transitioning. So I think you know, I don't know. I think that she's just a Republican. I don't know, and then, so I don't really get along with people that are like that. But you know, oh well. I mean, now maybe she'll become an even stronger advocate. I don't know. Maybe that would be a great thing. Hi, Lee. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I don't think anyone's Donnie's best buddy in anything. Actually, I think his buddy died in a prison cell. That's what I think. But let's go on because I would love to start reading these beautiful stories to you. And let's see, where am I going to start? I know where I'm going to start, and I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good day, Lee. Happy Friday. Oh, my Lord in heaven. I hope everybody enjoys the fact that it's Friday. I understand if you don't, but man, I hope it's everybody's Friday. I doubt it is, though. Damn it. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay. Oh, I'm so nervous. Okay. All right, let's start. She literally tried, but I'm one of the good ones. What? I didn't hear that meowing. Oh my God. I don't understand people. I really don't. Okay? I just don't. I don't understand. Okay, I need this to kind of move. All right. Burp. Burp. Oh, here, let's move this here. How about that? Do some more. The new wig party. Good morning. Good morning, Dan. How are you? I did some checking on the Deutsche Bank suicides. Oh, Teresa. We're gonna take up the banking again on Monday. I've got a few articles that I'm gonna read. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday, everyone. Don't let the algorithm decide what you want to see. Me. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is an article that the Secretary of War wears a wig. He does? But he wants male soldiers to be tested for testosterone. That whole thing is so wild. I feel like Pete Hegseth is becoming more incompetent as time goes on, right? Like sometimes you settle into the job and you're like, oh yeah. A little bit. You know, sometimes you settle into the job and you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm a little better at it. But he seems to get worse. Like, I just think the dumbest thing, like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Testosterone treatment, TRT. I don't get that. It doesn't seem right. And frankly, it seems a lot like, what is that? Mangala, you know, where they fucking pump you full of stuff and decide what you're going to do. The one that really stuck out was a Thomas Bowers that did loans to Trump that died 3 months after Epstein. I mean, I could see a lot of people who were engaged in that whole debacle, uh, being hopeless and thinking that they're gonna lose everything. I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, more dramatic to keep Slump's attention, yeah. I guess so. God, I don't know. What a weirdo. Okay. This is from Mother Jones. Again, I'm gonna thank Meowing Star multiple times, so, sorry, Meowing Star, that's probably gonna get annoying, but I just wanna make sure people know that these articles were curated by you, and that's a lot of energy and work to put into curating articles, trust me, I know. So I really appreciate it. Um, it's because he walks amongst giants, professionals, and officers and enlisted folks who are far more qualified. This is it. This is it. This is what it is. It's because he walks amongst giants, professionals, officers, and enlisted folks who are far more qualified than him. So he tries to make up for it by trying to warrior ethos max. He's warrior maxing. God, how did we get here? I still don't know how we got here. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Anyway, one of these days. One of these days. All right. Let us begin. All right. Relax, everyone. Lean back. Listen up, kids. Yeah, well said. All right, Mother Jones. This is from 2023, but an incredible article inside the secret working group that helped push anti-trans laws across the country. This is great because this is one of the pieces that I wanted to understand a little bit better is how we got here and how the trans community has been systematically, selected as the target. And so the more information that I get around that topic about how we got to this point, the better. Yeah. warrior maxing. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Let's do the impact update. After publication, this article was widely reported on and cited across a range of popular and academic publications, including The Guardian, New York Magazine, Vice, and Vox. Polly spoke about her investigation on NPR's Here and Now. The story has been cited by local lawmakers in South Dakota who opposed the legislation in testimony by advocates in Wisconsin seeking to block an anti-trans bill, and in Fifth Circuit appeals litigation over a university's canceling of a drag show. Other advocates have also made use of the reporting in research briefs, including the Movement Advancement Project and the National Women's Law Center. In response to the article's publication, an activist hacker released the full collection of leaked emails online, informing public debate as well as litigation over gender-affirming care bans. People I know in the military refer to him as Uncle Pete, like your creepy uncle you stopped inviting to Thanksgiving. Well, that's it then. There you go. Oh my God. Oh, I gotta move this so you guys can see the comments. All right. Oh my God, that's funny. This would be funny if it wasn't just killing people. Yeah, like the drunk at the bar. Now, all these guys seem like the people at the end of the bar that try to buy you a drink and you're like, no, thanks. Yeah. No, thank you. All right. On a Saturday afternoon in August 2019, a South Dakota Republican state rep, Fred Deutsch, sent an email to 18 anti-trans activists, doctors, and lawyers with the text of a bill he planned to introduce that would make it a felony for doctors to give transgender children under 16 gender-affirming medical care. I have no doubt this will be an uphill battle when we get into session, Deutsch warned the group. As always, please do not share this with the media. I love it when they say that. The longer we can fly under the radar, the better. Can I just tell you again, for those of you who know me, you know this, but let me tell you what has led me my entire professional life. Every time I made a decision as a manager, as a leader, as a member of a team, I don't even care. I would ask myself, if I had to defend this decision on the 6 o'clock news, could I do it? Or would I be lying? in order to save face. Is there a reason for me to have to save face about this decision on the 6 o'clock news? I swear to God, I have asked myself that thousands of times over the last 35, 40 years. And it has never failed me. Because every time I ask myself that question, if there is the least inkling that I would have to flower my language or lie or whatever, I knew it was the wrong decision to make overall. So I always ask myself, what would I do if this was on the 6 o'clock news? What would I say? And I really think when you're writing something that says, as always, please do not share this with the media, that should be the first thing that tells you that what you're doing is wrong. And they're like, the longer we can fly under the radar, the better. No, it means you're doing something wrong. Right? Leon Black's son, he handed, yeah, we're going to talk about Epstein and stuff more on Monday. Wow. I mean, that's really like that to me is one of the key things that has helped me feel like good in my management practices as a human, is that I have asked myself that question and it has made me change. It has changed my direction on things. Like, no, I can't do that. I can't take the shortcut. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying I was ever perfect. I made a ton of mistakes as a manager. Oh my God. I was a mess sometimes as a manager. But I think it's important to ask yourself these questions ethically. I think it comes down to ethics. Well, not morality, but humanity. I don't know. In this particular case, I think. The message was one in a trove of emails obtained by Mother Jones between Deutsch and representatives of a network of activists and organizations at the forefront of the anti-trans movement. They show the degree to which these activists shaped Deutsch's repressive legislation, a version of which was signed into law in February, and the tactics, alliances, and goals of a movement that has sought to foist their agenda on a national scale. In messages back and forth, some members of the group pushed Deutsch to make the bill even more restrictive. Bernadette Broyles, the president and general counsel of a Georgia-based law firm called the Child and Parental Rights Campaign, urged him to raise the age threshold to 18. Broyles, who is also affiliated with the conservative Christian legal powerhouse Alliance Defending Freedom, isn't that Russ Vogt? No. Which one is that? Which one is the Alliance Defending Freedom person? I can't remember. Warned that other religious rights groups might not support the bill if you start giving away 16 and 17-year-olds right from the outset. But apparently, your guy raping a 13-year-old is fine. I don't know. Make it make sense. Others, including Andre Van Mol, a member of a fringe conservative doctors group that calls itself the American College of Pediatricians. Sure, Vern, raised concerns that the bill as written might backfire by accidentally blocking healthcare providers from attempting to change a child's perception of their sex when kids identify as transgender. Deutsch agreed to rewrite the section. At the time, there was little precedent for such bills, and Deutsch's legislation, called the Vulnerable Child Protection Act, again, they can't protect 13-year-olds from being raped by their boss, but, you know, taking away parental rights is, you know, perfectly fine with them in this case. Not in other cases, but in this case. Trying to hunt down who leaked the ammo stories for the media, it's like hunting for Waldo. I think it's JVJD. I'm sure it's probably Kane, Teresa. It's probably Raising Kane. He doesn't want to be blamed for this Vietnam 2.0. Yep, Vietnam 2.0, bitches. Yep. Strap in. It ain't gonna be pretty. Doctors showed up at, okay, excuse me. At the time, there was little precedent for such bills, and Deutsch's legislation, called the Vulnerable Child Protection Act, was killed in the Senate after doctors showed up at the South Dakota State House to argue that they should not be sent to prison for following the medical consensus. Though our session in SD is now over and our efforts to protect gender-confused, vulnerable children failed, I continue to receive ugly email and social media posts. Well, maybe, Deutsch, you're on the wrong side of this issue. Ever think of that? Deutsch complained to the group in March 2020. Please do not say that South Dakota effort failed. Margaret Clark, general counsel for the Alabama branch of the Phyllis Schlafly founded Eagle Forum. Yes, Phyllis Schlafly, still alive. You successfully inspired. Yeah, he's raising hell. He's like, I am going to be the one who's responsible for all these people dying, and I don't want to. Please share the broadcast. We're at 7 beautiful souls watching. It would be wonderful if we had more beautiful eyeballs and ears for this. Please share. And I can't get on Blue Sky, so it'd be really great if you shared it on Blue Sky where there's more humans. I'm not sure about the number of humans on X, frankly. I'm just not. The Phyllis Schlafly founded Eagle Forum replied, you successfully inspired, encouraged, and counseled numerous VCAP efforts around the country. You established the ideal witness list that we are still following in our individual states. And most importantly, you connected us all to each other. This is just the beginning, Fred. Indeed, Deutsch's bill has proved influential in the recent surge of anti-LGBTQ lawmaking. This legislative session, at least 18 states have considered bills containing language closely resembling the text of the Vulnerable Child Protection Act. The leaked emails reveal how Deutsch's proposal helped proponents of the national movement to restrict gender-affirming care establish a playbook for their now common attacks. They're very much increased sophistication since then, but the roots are there, says activist and writer Aaron Reed. We love Aaron. And thanks to Meowing Star for introducing me to Aaron, who tracks anti-trans legislation. Reed says that when she meets with legislators, hi Jay, hi beautiful. Reed says that when she meets with legislators, they're often surprised to learn of the outside forces pushing anti-trans bills. This isn't coming from an in-state grassroots support system, she says. The emails demonstrate close collaboration between groups working behind the scenes to push bills banning transgender healthcare, including ADF, which has defended state-sanctioned sterilization. Oh my God. Of trans people in Europe. And the HOTBED, which has opposed adoption by gay couples and supported conversion therapy for LGBTQ youth. In recent years, ADF has drafted legislation banning trans children from using school restrooms or playing on school sports teams that align with their gender identity. Both groups are also staunchly anti-abortion. ADF, which drafted the Mississippi abortion ban at the heart of the case that overturned Roe v. Wade, is currently representing HOTBEDs in a closely watched lawsuit to ban an abortion pill, mifepristone, nationally, which they're still working on that. These are groups that we know are not interested in the best practice care for trans kids, said Catherine Oakley, a state legislative director and senior counsel for the Human Rights Campaign. These bills are coming from national organizations whose purpose is to harm LGBTQ people. More than half of transgender and non-binary kids have considered suicide. I'm going to read that again. More than half of transgender and non-binary kids have considered suicide, according to a 2021 survey by the Trevor Project. And 93% say they worry about state laws denying transgender people access to gender-affirming medical care. This treatment approach, which typically includes puberty blockers for pubescent children, cross-sex hormones for teenagers or adults, and almost exclusively for adults, surgeries, represents a broad medical agreement that such care can be crucial for supporting trans kids' well-being. Gender-affirming care is supported by the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychiatric Association, and the Endocrine Society, and other major medical organizations. And studies have found that it is associated with better mental health outcomes over both short and longer term periods. ACPEDS, yeah, the American College of Pediatricians, not a medical governing board. We just read that guy that founded it. He's a nutbag. It's a nutbag job. It's a nutbag group. We're just going to call them nutbags because that's what they are. They're selfish little weird nutbags that are obsessed with people's genitalia. I don't really get it. I'm not really obsessed with people's genitalia, but they seem to be. Okay, that's it. The organizations exchanging emails with Deutsch and his other collaborators aren't shy about their agenda. Several, including ACPEDS, Eagle Forum, and Christian Medical and Dental Associations, are listed as partners in the campaign dubbed Promise to America's Children. Co-led by ADF, the Heritage Foundation, a major conservative think tank also represented in the emails, and the Christian nationalist lobbying group Family Policy Alliance. The campaign pushes anti-LGBTQ legislation, claiming that the government and media are imposing explicit sexual content on children, meaning information about sexual orientation, gender identity, and abortion. The president of the American Principles Project, a member of the coalition, recently told the New York Times that his group's goal is to eliminate all transition care, starting with children, because that's where the consensus is. Ooh, you're creepy. Lawmakers often seek advice from experts in law, policy, medicine, and other fields as they craft legislation, ADF Senior Vice President of Communications Greg Scott said in a statement. Hi. Wait, that's a stunning, isn't that? That's a stunning stat. Yeah, Lee. Yeah. Incredible. It's ridiculous. That's a normal part of a healthy democracy. Privately, John Oler, a therapist who supports conversion therapy, urged the working group to respond to questions for this article by emphasizing that there is no such thing as a trans kid. He later sent me a series of social media posts comparing trans people and drag performers to sexual predators. Sick. Those people are sick. These people are sick. They're the sick ones. They're the ones that are sick. They're the ones that are hurting children. They're the ones that are hurting people. The emails illustrate just how long some major figures in the anti-trans movement have been incubating political attacks on transgender healthcare. For instance, Broyles, who today represents Jamie Reed, the former caseworker who has made controversial, high-profile claims against a Missouri gender clinic, was working in 2020 with ACPED's executive director, Michelle Cretella, and retired American Principles Project senior fellow Jane Robbins to compile a packet of lobbying materials in support of Vulnerable Child Protection Act bills, including a guide targeted at parents. Please share this with your legislators and feel free to disseminate them as widely as possible with allies, Broyles wrote on January 9, 2020. We hope they become weapons in the hands of many warriors. Fucking weirdos. The 2019 bill wasn't Deutsch's first time pushing anti-trans legislation or his first time working with Alliance Defending Freedom. Teresa or J. Rance, is ADF Russ vote? Will they never see it as a human rights issue? No, they won't. That's the point. Or they think they already have rights. Chuds think that trans people already have too many rights. That's what it is. Rights are pie, apparently. A retired chiropractor and former president of the anti-abortion group South Dakota Right to Life, Deutsch was elected to the State House in 2014 and 2 years later introduced one of the earliest bathroom bills based on ADF model legislation. Like North Carolina's infamous HB 2, the proposal attempted to block trans students from using school restrooms and locker rooms that match their gender identity. It passed both houses of the state legislature before it was vetoed by then Governor Dennis Daugaard, who said that the bill does not address any pressing issue concerning the school districts of South Dakota. According to University of Cincinnati law professor Ryan Thorson, a former LGBT rights program researcher for Human Rights Watch, Deutsch was one of the most prominent state lawmakers nationally in pushing anti-transgender restrictions at the state level. Even before we were seeing these huge waves of bills, Deutsch declined to answer questions. In 2019, Deutsch tweeted that he would try to criminalize doctors who followed the Endocrine Society's clinical practice guidelines for treating people with gender dysphoria. He would later claim the idea for such a law had come from children I saw on Twitter, who told him to read Reddit forums about detransitioning. By that summer, Deutsch had quietly assembled a group of advisors, including people who had once identified as trans, only to reverse course and deny that anyone is truly transgender. Kristen Wagner is ADF. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jay. Okay. By that summer, Deutsch had quietly assembled a group of advisors, including people who had once identified as trans, only to reverse course and deny that anyone is truly transgender. They helped him workshop legislative language, supporting materials, and proponent testimony. Citizens for Renewing America. Thank you. God, I just can't keep this all straight. The Center for Citizens Renewing America's Defense of Families. I'm going to come up with our own thing, and we're going to take all the words from all the think tanks, and we're going to make one big name. Oh, Stephanie! Level 1. No, no, no. Member for 1 month. Level Champagne Lounge. Stephanie, good morning. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning. How are you doing, girl? Let's see. By that summer, oh yeah, excuse me. That's right. We had read that. I'm so terrible. This is a sample of one of the emails. Just a note to update you on the status of the VCPA. I'm comfortable the bill and white paper are at near final. I have no doubt this will be an uphill battle. As always, please do not share this with the media. It was like Deutsch assembled a team of Navy SEALs or snails. We were all trained killers in a specialty. Oh, that's really gross. Okay, that's pretty gross. Says Elisa Ray Shoup, a retired U.S. Army soldier who became a vocal anti-trans advocate and participated in Deutsch's working group after detransitioning. Shoup has since retransitioned, disavowed much of her old activism, and shared her copies of the working group's emails with reporters. Religious right rhetoric about wanting to help children with gender dysphoria is just a front for what they do behind the scenes, she says. It's like they want to do as much damage to the trans community as they can. The draft bill Deutsch sent the group in August 2019 sparked a lengthy debate over language. In one email chain, participants struggled to narrow the wording of Deutsch's bill to avoid blocking treatments for trauma victims or legitimizing the concept of gender as one separate from biological sex. Catherine Cave, if it's doing that, okay, if you're struggling to do it, then it must mean it's not correct. Okay? It must mean it's not correct. Seriously. I know, there's so many organizations. Oh my God. Let's see here. Sorry. I keep stopping and I shouldn't do that. Catherine Cave, a founder of the anti-trans parent organization Kelsey Coalition, suggested specifying that treatments were only banned for patients who had an incorrect perception of their sex. So that sounds like a feeling. It sounds like a judgment, and it sounds like not a scientific. Incorrect doesn't seem like very scientific. Yeah. Oh, I see. A child and parental rights campaign lawyer proposed replacing the word incorrect with dissonant. Dissonant from what? Dissonant from whom? Richard Mast of Liberty Counsel separately advised the group to avoid saying the words transgender, cisgender, or non-binary. Using them surrenders the language. Master, Jesus Christ. If the other side's language frames the debate, we'd lose. Hi, Josh. This is so weird. God. We have got to fight this hard because this is not just a little distraction. This is not just a distraction for the right wing, obviously. But I mean, I'm saying that it's not even used as kind of a look over here. It's actually a systemic way to achieve their agenda of fascism. And it's just taking a group, isolating them, demonizing them, stripping them of rights. They'll take another group, demonize them, strip them of rights. They'll take another group, you know what I mean? So it's part of the outcomes. I really hope some chuds are watching. I know they're probably not, but I really hope they are. Really, really, really. Hammered out talking points. Oops, sorry. Members of the South Dakota team, as they occasionally referred to themselves, hammered out talking points for upcoming bill hearings where a detransitioner and a member of the Women's Liberation Front would testify in favor of the bill, along with doctors from both inside and outside South Dakota. The group debated how to respond to the ACLU's claim that their bill was unconstitutional. While there may be constitutional right to refuse to carry a child to term under Roe, there is no constitutional right to chemically and surgically mutilate one's healthy body where there is no disease to be treated. That is child abuse, Broyles wrote. I don't know if any of that makes any sense to me. I don't know. They brainstormed responses to the argument that gender affirming care reduces suicide, an assertion that is backed up by research. Peer reviewed studies have repeatedly found that trans and non binary youth with access to gender affirming care are significantly less likely to seriously consider suicide than those who did not receive such care. A larger analysis using online survey data from over 11,000 trans and non binary youth found using gender affirming hormonal therapy was associated with lower rates of both depression and suicidality. Yet one team member called the argument that gender affirming care reduces suicide abusive. Another argued it was a way for doctors to coerce parents to consent to gender affirming care for their child. I just don't think this is happening. I don't think that people are coercing people to. I just don't. You can't even get a doctor to prescribe the medicine you need. Okay, people? Come on now. Stop it. Van Mol, the doctor, suggested Deutsch reply to the suicide prevention argument with a rebuttal published on a defunct anti-trans blog. Why weren't the 1950s a total bloodbath for suicide if non-affirmation of everything is the fast train to offing oneself? Ooh, gross, Van Mol asked, paraphrasing the blog post. Another doctor in the working group, California endocrinologist Michael Laidlaw, had gained attention for his writing against gender-affirming care after parents at a charter school in his region raised complaints that they hadn't been notified before kindergartners were read a children's book, I Am Jazz, about trans teenager Jazz Jennings. Last fall, when the state of Florida called on Laidlaw as an expert witness in a lawsuit over its anti-trans Medicaid policy, a federal judge concluded that he was far off from the accepted view on how to treat gender dysphoria, in part because Laidlaw had said he would refuse to use patients' preferred pronouns. In his South Dakota testimony, Laidlaw compared gender-affirming care to Nazi experimentation in the Tuskegee syphilis study. In emails to Deutsch and the group, he railed against doctors who prescribe puberty blockers, which are used to delay unwanted physical changes in gender-diverse kids and give them more time to explore whether or how to transition, accusing them of willfully harming children, even if kids and their parents consent to treatment. The physician is the criminal in these scenarios and must be prosecuted by the law, he argued. Around the time it became clear that Deutsch's bill would not pass, the discussions in the email thread shifted from strategy to impassioned proclamations that trans people don't exist. The state is forcing people to participate in a lie akin to 2 plus 2 equals 5, Cretella wrote. A man is not a woman. If that is not the definition of insane, I don't know what is. Well, you don't know what is the definition of insane is then. Some participants in the chains argued over whether it undermined their cause to work with a trans activist who opposed medical transition for children, but not adults. Their endorsements come with a hitch. They expect everyone to play make-believe that they really are the opposite sex and have compelled pronouns and all that garbage, Shoup wrote. Oh, what a lovely person. Jesus Christ. In spring 2020, those Christians, man, they'll just come, they're just amazing. Using the word mutilate is a trigger word, yeah. It's disgusting and not appropriate. It's not the right word. In spring 2020, the group claimed one victory. Mast of Liberty Council put his team in touch with Idaho Rep. Julianne Young, who was working on a bill to prohibit trans people from changing the gender marker on their birth certificate. Young, who had taken edits from the ADF attorney Matt Sharp on the proposal, asked the group for feedback on its language and invited them to edit her press release about it. In response to questions from Mother Jones, Young says that consulting with experts with legislation is a normal part of our robust democratic process. On March 30th, 2020, Young wrote to the group with excitement to announce that her bill had been signed by Idaho Governor Little. I can't thank you enough for your help and support. Thanks for staying so focused on this, even though the endless pandemonium, replied Gary McCaleb, a lawyer on ADF's appellate team. Very, very well done. Even as Deutsch's original bill failed, the variations of the Vulnerable Child Protection Act were already being introduced in at least 9 states beyond South Dakota. In part, that was thanks to the efforts of people on the team who were pushing the bill they'd workshopped with Deutsch behind the scenes to other Republican legislators. In October 2019, Broyles announced to the group that she and Robbins had met with Georgia State Rep. Ginny Earhart and converted her to their cause. She's filing our bill with this legislative session, Broyles wrote. I'm stoked for what God is doing in Georgia. Oh, yeah. Not long after their meeting, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported Earhart as saying she had drafted the bill in response to high-profile child custody dispute in Texas, in which parents disagreed about their child's gender identity. In Florida, an aide for state rep Anthony Sabatini. Remember Anthony Sabatini blocked me on Twitter. I went after him for something. I can't remember now what. It was a long time ago. That was 2021. I went after him right when he started to. I can't remember. Jay Rance, do you remember? You remember Sabatini, of course. It's okay to perform a circumcision, though. Yeah, apparently circumcisions are fine. What is it? What's the other gender affirming care? The blue pill, Viagra is gender affirming care. Yeah, let's get rid of all of it. There you go. Let's see. Cretella helped collect names of like-minded doctors and psychologists, reporting to the group that she'd urged the lobbyists to get a diversity of witnesses, as was achieved for South Dakota. Yeah, samesies. Yeah, that's right. You were definitely blocked. You were much farther up his butthole than I was. Meanwhile, Eagle Forum worked with a Utah lawmaker, then Rep. Brad Daw, who'd agreed to sponsor a similar bill in his state. We've got lots of legislators working on this, a Utah Eagle Forum activist told the Salt Lake Tribune. Deutsch told his group he would pass workshop legislative language and supporting materials to Daw through Eagle Forum, but Daw, citing pushback from colleagues and the parents of trans children, later changed his mind and instead filed a bill to study the effects of puberty blockers. Excuse me. And in Alabama, according to an email from Eagle Forum's Clark, both Cretella and Deutsch had coached her as she led legislators in the state to adopt a bill similar to Rep. Fred Deutsch's. The resulting legislation, dubbed the Vulnerable Child Compassion and Protection Act, this is so stupid, failed in 2020. They don't care about children. Do you understand that? They do not care about children. Period. This is insane. But an updated version was signed into law in 2022, becoming the country's second ban on gender affirming care and the first to criminalize doctors who provided it. The first in Arkansas was passed in 2021. Today, and again, this was in 2023, 6 states have banned gender affirming medication and surgical care for minors. He just got reprimanded. Wait, according to the Bible, I sharpened flint knives and made a hill of foreskins. Oh, well, nice. Ooh. Oh yeah, or take testosterone via Kegseth. Yeah, that's right. That's also gender affirming care. He just got reprimanded by a judge for using AI in his briefings. Oops. Donnie even. All right, Jim. All right. Well, she is a woman. She is a woman. And that's true. That means that Trump is acknowledging she's a woman. That's a good point. Today, 6 states have banned gender-affirming medication and surgical care for minors, and we should probably go to the trans legislation tracker to find out, because far more states have done stuff since this time. After Alabama enacted its version of Deutsch's bill, the Justice Department sued the state, arguing that the law is unconstitutional because it discriminates based on sex and transgender status. A federal judge agreed to block parts of the new law, explaining that Alabama had produced no credible evidence to back up its claim that the medications are experimental. The uncontradicted evidence is that at least 22 major medical associations in the United States endorse transitioning medications as well-established evidence-based treatments for gender dysphoria in minors. I'm going to read that again. The uncontradicted evidence is that at least 22 major medical associations in the United States endorse transitioning medications as well-established evidence-based treatments for gender dysphoria in minors. District Court Judge Lyles Burke wrote in his order issuing a temporary injunction. That case, along with the challenge to the Arkansas ban, is still playing out in court. Last fall, Burke denied a Justice Department attempt to subpoena the Eagle Forum for all documents related to its advocacy for the law. Eagle Forum of Alabama took on this issue after hearing from citizens in Alabama, including parents, doctors, lawyers, and guidance counselors about their concerns for otherwise healthy children who want to transition to the opposite sex. Who in the world has time to think about that? Who in the world? Hi, Jane. No, you're fine. You can probably catch up. I was just chit-chatting in the beginning. Na, 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 na. And in South Dakota, Deutsch finally won the long battle this February. Again, this is 2023. Governor Crispy No, remember that TBT, signed an updated version of his bill. The new law strips licenses from doctors who provide minors with gender-affirming care and requires health providers to gradually cut off puberty blockers and hormones for any kids they are already treating. Friends, I need to call the bank. Okay, Dan, good luck. Get them. Get extra money for us. That provision is expected to force some South Dakota teens to medically detransition by the end of 2023. Oh, really? Casimir Pulaski, the founder of our cavalry during the Revolutionary War, was transgender. There's been transgender people since the beginning of time. And gender is a concept. I'm sorry. So we may think that just having two genders is easy enough to keep in our heads, but that's just not the fact of the case. So you know what? Just get over it and welcome the fact that there's so many beautiful people in this world. My God. Deutsch returned to Twitter in February to celebrate the signing of the South Dakota ban. This concludes the effort I began 3 years ago, he tweeted, along with a picture of lawmakers toasting. Many good people have worked to protect our children. Really? All right. So that is, this is a long-term effort to try and, I'm going to take a break for a minute and just talk to you guys. Thank you. That was one provided by Meowing, which I think shows just the depths to which and the time. I mean, this has been happening for decades, but there is an amplification of the attacks on trans people in this country. And I just want to say the reason that I don't know, I think that this is something that we don't talk about enough is that this is a human rights issue. And I just think back to what I hear some of the chuds say about indoctrination and, you know, I'm trying to think of some of the stupid things that they say. I think I might have blocked them all out of my head. That schools are indoctrinating kids that, you know, again, okay, let's talk about the schools. So again, I ran a high school in Brooklyn and I have worked in after school programs throughout my 22-year career in nonprofit. I had a 13-year career in for-profit prior to my move to nonprofit. And so I've worked with kids, whether through grief support programs or after school programs or a school in Liberia or a high school in Brooklyn. I have worked in that setting for decades. And I can tell you from a school setting that there is no indoctrination going on. All right. There's not enough time to teach your kids to do math, frankly. And so there's a very big struggle within schools about finding time in order to help kids get through the hurdles that the academics themselves pose. Meanwhile, around that, we worry very much about the mental and emotional and physical well-being of our students because all of that weighs on their ability to learn. And so if schools are doing anything around, you know, providing counseling and other things, that's normal. And any child who would come to me as, you know, the head of a school or something like that, my job is also to listen and to help support their emotional and mental well-being. Because otherwise, we don't have any opportunity to teach them math, right? Because there's a whole child standing in front of us who's tired, who doesn't eat enough, who doesn't eat the right things, who's sad, who's mad, who's hurt. That's so to expect that schools are one thing, right, is unrealistic and undesirable, because I want my child to go to a school where they are loved and supported and they learn about others. I also want my child to learn about other people. And so there's no indoctrination happening, because I'm going to be honest with you, there's no time to indoctrinate. But there's time to support. And there's time to help other kids also understand what other kids might be going through so that they become better humans. So that's what schools try to do. So I'm sick and tired of all these fucking assholes who think they know what goes on in a school, spouting out their assholes bullshit. Because I know what happens in a school. And I think it's disgusting that people would pass judgment on that. Another thing is that they, as I alluded to yesterday, chuds tend to think that rights are pie, and that, if you give extra rights, I guess, I don't know what they think they are. If you give extra rights to transgender people, that somehow that's going to lessen your rights or take something away from you. And that's just simply not the case. In fact, it's the opposite. When everyone is truly treated equally under the law, and that means allowed to live their lives. I mean, the chuds are all about freedom. I just don't even understand why the freedom part doesn't, kind of trump everything else. Also, y'all are very excited about, you making decisions for your child when it comes to education and other things. You're very excited about that. But for some reason, you don't want parents of trans children to make any decisions. You want someone else to make the decisions for a parent of a trans child, right? You want to make that decision. But if it's your child and you're talking about, whether or not they read a certain book in school, you want to make that decision. So what is it? When do you want to be involved? And are you the better parent? Is that what you're saying? Is that you're the better parent? So you're wrong. If you think that schools are indoctrinating children, you're wrong. If you think that parents and trans children can't make medical decisions for themselves, you're wrong. So there's no common ground here. The common ground is that you agree that you have been wrong. I'm sorry. That's what it's going to take. And meanwhile, the bigotry and the opinions that you have are causing immense stress and strife, and leading to shit like this, where we have laws that are being put on the books that absolutely restrict the freedoms and the rights of transgender people. We hardly have time to teach. I'm going to be honest with you. The struggle is real, Jane. Getting through the tests, teaching to the test, okay, that took more than enough time. I only had one social worker for 400 kids. I would much rather have had 4 social workers, 1 for each grade, to work alongside a counselor, 1 for each grade, in partnership to support those kids and all the stuff that they present. I had kids who were homeless. I had kids who were kicked out by their parents because they were gay and who slept on the subway. I had kids who were drunk at school, and I had to tell their parents, your daughter is drunk. I had machetes coming at my kids. I had it all, baby. So I'm going to tell you right now, there is no indoctrination. There is only love. There is only hope that these children can thrive. And if my job is anything, it's to also make sure that every child who is in that fucking school feels welcome. Every child. And isn't scared. I don't want a child to be scared to come to school. I don't want a child to be scared that they're going to be laughed at or looked at or think that they're wrong in their own existence. I don't ever want that. And so the fact that you as an idiot can sit there and claim that you know what's happening in a school and that, teachers are just this, that, and the other thing, fuck you. Fuck you. You're wrong. So yeah, salty chud, the common ground is that you admit that you don't know what happens. The common ground is that you admit that you don't know what it's like and that you have no idea what trans children face or what trans adults face. So fuck you. There's no compromise here. We're not compromising. These are rights. These are human and civil rights, period. Get in line and learn about and just feel. God, just start with feeling. Just start with empathy. Just start with, wow, I may not understand what it's like to be a trans person. So maybe I should just learn more about what it might be like to be a trans person and what they might be facing and what they might be scared of and what they might find joy in and like, fuck, man, you're so interested in what's happening, then find out what's happening. If you're so goddamn curious. Oh my God. Crazy. Okay. Let me find our next article. And this is going to be a hard show. So I just want everyone to kind of guard themselves. And if you feel like you need to take a break, take a break. But these are really important stories. And we'll spread them out too. There's going to be more. But this was a great opportunity to concentrate and really catch up on what the fuck is happening, because there's a lot. And it can get easily lost in the news cycle. It does for me. And so this is helpful. As brought to us again by Meowing Star. This is the wonderful Erin. There's Erin in the morning. This is the woman that was referred to in the last article. And she has a wonderful Substack on trans issues in particular, many issues. But here we go. This is from August 5th, 2026. So very recent. We haven't done the ammo story. I'm focusing on trans issues today. I live in the most racially diverse city in the United States. We have a lot of gangs and a lot of problems that we need to help our children with. We don't have time for transitioning. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm trying to keep kids out of gangs. Yeah, that's one of the things I tried to do. I tried to keep kids out of gangs, you know. And by gangs, there I am actually a little weird when it comes to gangs, okay? I may not be the most, whatever, but here's how I feel about gangs. I think we should think about why gangs start. And gangs, there's many different types of gangs, and there's criminal gangs and stuff like that. And my problem was always with the criminal gangs, the guys who would make kids carry guns and shit like that. There was a lot of that in Brooklyn where they would, have kids run drugs from one location to another and all that kind of stuff. So that was the type of gangs I was always worried about. But there's gangs and stuff like that where it's around building community too. And so one thing I look at when I think about gangs is, what are they trying to create? What does a gang create for that community? Right? And in many respects, obviously crime can be part of it, but then there can also be just an identity, acceptance, community. There can be a lot of things within the concept of a gang. And so I always take a second before really looking at that, because I think that when it comes to gang activity, beyond the criminal piece, I think we need to think about why people are drawn to that. Safety, right? Position in a community, all kinds of things. So I don't know. I think about gangs in a much more multidimensional way than just, crime bad. I think there's a lot of heritage in some of the gangs in Los Angeles and in California. There's a lot of heritage involved in it, the Sureños and Norteños. So it's complicated, and I'm not saying oh, gangs are great, because I don't think wanton violence is a good thing. But I also look deeper beyond, like, what does the gang offer? Because I had to think about that when it came to the kids too. How do I make it more attractive to not join a gang that's going to have you run drugs across the city than to do it? Like, and I don't win. But at the same time, there's rather than sit in complete judgment, one might think about, wow, what might be missing from a person's life for them to turn to a gang? I don't know. Like, hmm. So anyway, I just think I think everything is a little more complicated than we give it credit for, So anyway, but let's read this story again from yesterday. Hey, Max, how are you, darling? Trans couple brutalized at Louisiana Park bathroom and then charged by police. They do feel a need. Yeah. We should think about what those needs are and what kids are looking for, and what other things can help that. I don't know. There's a lot of wonderful ex-gang members who are experts on this and who work in communities to try and answer that question. So it's a manufactured wedge strategy, but it's also a very real war, Max. And so there's, I hesitate to call it a distraction, because I don't think it is. I think it's an all-out war, and it's a fulfillment of a promise to the evangelical community. That's another thing. Just like Roe was a promise to the evangelical community, I believe this war on LGBTQ trans is absolutely part of that same thing. So I think it is a promise made to the evangelical community to eliminate LGBTQ from our lives, and this is their attempts. These are their attempts. So, all right, here's Erin. I can't remember her last name. Erin. Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. An angry mob allegedly beat them. The police charged them. The municipality voted for one of the most severe anti-trans bathroom ordinances in the country. That's great ink right there. I would love to do a chess piece like that, actually. Aaron. This article, okay, content note. This article depicts images and descriptions of violence against transgender people. Reader discretion is advised. Important reminder. Yes, Katie Fang is definitely kicking some ass. Good for her. Very proud. Great reporting. On May 31st, Aurora Rush and Shay Sanders would do something that would forever change the course of their lives. The couple, both of whom are transgender, would use a public restroom in Bossier Parish, Louisiana. Louisiana does not have an anti-trans bathroom ban on the books that would prohibit the pair from using the restroom of their restroom of choice at the park, so this was wholly legal. Nonetheless, Sanders and Rush told Aaron in the morning that a mob of people at Cypress Black Bayou Park would exact revenge for this perceived transgression by beating them so severely that Sanders lost consciousness. Sanders was taken to the hospital in an ambulance where they needed 4 stitches above their eye. Rush sustained injuries all over her body, including a concussion, but she wasn't taken to a hospital. Instead, police took her to a men's jail. Aaron in the morning could not find evidence that anyone else was arrested that day, and the sheriff's office would not immediately provide those details. Sanders was charged with 1 count of disturbing the peace, and Rush with 2, one for fighting and the other for purported use of offensive language, meaning they face fines and up to 6 months or 1 year in prison, respectively, if convicted. They say they didn't even punch back. Still, a plea deal may help them avoid jail time. But Sanders and Rush aren't signing. I'm more angry at the response of the Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office than I am at the people who beat us up, Rush said. They further victimized me. I cannot just go to court, sign a piece of paper, pay a couple of $100 in fines, and just let it go like it never happened. It's an egregious miscarriage of justice. Bye. I love you so much. Bye, boo boo. I love you later. I'll come and pick you up. It's Friday. Woo! Ooh, ooh. I love you. Have a good day. Don't let circus get you down. Okay. In the weeks that followed the incident, the police jury, a state nomenclature for what other parts of the country might call a county board of executives, unanimously voted for one of the most punitive anti-trans bathroom bans in the country, reportedly at the request of Bossier Parish Sheriff Julian Whittington himself. He was not available for comment ahead of publishing for this piece. Courtney Newberry, the couple's attorney, said that in her opinion, what happened to her clients is nothing less than a hate crime. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I believe the facts will show that this attack was targeted, calculated, and had been simmering all day, and is the direct result of the dangerous and harmful rhetoric that demonizes and dehumanizes transgender people. Okay, this is actually, I'm going to read that again, because this, I think, is the heart of the issue. This attack was targeted, calculated, and had been simmering all day, and is the direct result of the dangerous and harmful rhetoric that demonizes and dehumanizes transgender people. That's the point. I believe the facts will show that the attackers had made a determination as to Aurora's gender, and that determination led them to believe that they had the power to do what they did, and they believed themselves to be the heroes here. It began as a stereotypical all-American summer day, Rush recalls. Friends gathered lakeside and had hot dogs grilled over an open flame and tried to cool off from the relentless Louisiana sun. But this is Trump's America, meaning transgender people are being subjected to new and creative terror campaigns every single day. Even Rush, who has been living as a transgender woman in the Deep South for over a decade, was blindsided by what happened next. Rush had stepped away from the festivities to use the women's room and returned to the lake without incident. The day came to a quiet end. Then the couple parted from their friends and began walking back to their car. But first, Sanders needed the restroom. They are non-binary, but assigned female at birth, so they often feel safest using the women's room. They handed some belongings to Rush so that she could wait outside the building with it. In Rush's telling, that's when a man began harassing her. She had never met him before. She didn't recognize him, but as she walked back to her car in the parking lot, he followed. She said he threatened her if she entered the women's room, called her slurs, and tried to goad her into a fight. Rush put her belongings down in her car and returned to a pavilion area outside of the women's room to wait for Sanders, and the man kept following her, she said. Excuse me, let's take a drink of coffee. Oh, good, Dan. I'm glad. Have no personal contact. I mean, do they or do they not know it? I think I don't want to give them any outs. Okay, they know better. They know better. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done giving people grace that they're ignorant about how to behave around trans people or gay people or anything else. Grow the fuck up. You know that you have a basic modicum of respect and dignity. It is not your job to police the fucking restrooms. Number one, there is no evidence, zero evidence that transgender people in restrooms is a correlating to more violence in a restroom or sexual abuse or anything or sexual activity. It is clear. It just simply is not true. Every day, trans people use bathrooms all around you. So I'm done. There is no grace when it comes to, oh, I'm not used to being around people who are trans, or I'm not used to being around people. I don't give a flying fuck. Get over it. Yes, they know better. That is reinforcing their own hatred. But when, you know why I know, Max? Because when you say something like, when they say things like, I don't hate gay people. I love gay. I have a lot of, I don't hate people. They know that they're wrong. And of course, yeah, there's a lot of reinforcing bullshit disinformation. I'm confident disinformation helps, but this comes down stemmed from a bigoted place. That's it. A bigoted place. So, I don't know. I respectfully disagree with you, my friend. I think that people know better. I think they choose not to believe. Because otherwise, they're just, it's kind of odd that they're just choosing one group. Rush put her belongings down in the car and returned to a pavilion. Okay. But in the time it took Sanders to finish and wash their hands, a crowd of about 10 people had formed. Sanders remembers emerging from the building to see their partner terrified, trapped at the center of a circle of men and women alike, screaming profanities and threats. It was every single hateful thing you can come up with that people say to a trans person, Sanders said. Sanders had to push past the crowd because, in addition to surrounding Rush, they were blocking the exit. Sanders put their arm around Rush and tried to leave, but people blocked them. What followed was a stream of vitriol. They allegedly called Rush a tranny and a faggot. They allegedly said they would stop Rush from entering the bathroom by any means necessary. They allegedly threatened to murder Rush, and they allegedly said they were protecting the children. Why can't they keep it to themselves like husband and wife have recently had a chud not grasp? Wait, what? Like husband and wife have recently had. Let's see here. I was in a total, complete, closed-up circle, Rush said. There was no getting out of it. I could feel people behind me breathing down my neck. We knew at that point we were pretty much screwed, Sanders said. God damn it. It's not totally clear why the beating stopped, but evidently a parks employee called the police. The Sanders had been knocked unconscious and needed stitches for a gash above their eye. They were taken away in an ambulance. Rush sat in her car as police questioned her and others at the scene. Both maintained they didn't even really fight back. You know I love gay people. Yeah, exactly. But the children. I don't want my children around those people. How about that? You're the one I'm scared of. If anything, more than anything, they weren't in fighting condition. Rush lives off disability benefits because of a hip injury. She has trouble lifting heavy objects and moving one of her legs. Sanders has a structural defect in their spinal cord. An injury as mild as a whiplash could render them in need of emergency surgery. After the ordeal at Cypress Bayou, they were blind in one eye for several days, the product of a scratched cornea. Sanders is also medically vulnerable due to a neurostim plant in their shoulder, a device similar to a pacemaker, but connected to the brain instead of the heart. Doctors are still trying to determine if the attack damaged the wires, which could kill them. Rush also incurred head trauma, scratches, contusions, and massive welts. One knot above her knee swelled to the size of an apple. Blood pooled around her eyes, a sign of a concussion, but the physical injuries were compounded by the moral ones. The worst part for Rush may have been when officers approached her car, told her to step out of her vehicle, and informed her that she was under arrest. Despite the female gender marker on Rush's driver's license, they took her to a men's jail, had her patted down and searched by a male guard, and initially booked her under a man's name, and not even one she had ever used or heard of. A photo she shared with Aaron in the morning appears to show a plastic bag where they had collected her belongings, labeled with a moniker she didn't recognize. The name is crossed out, and her proper legal name is scrawled underneath. Upon her release from police custody, she looked up the name on Facebook, and she immediately recognized the face staring back at her. It was one of the men, she says, who attacked her. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Rush and Sanders were scheduled for arraignment on July 15th, but that date was changed at the last minute. Their next court date is expected to be in August, Newbury told Aaron in the morning. Coincidentally, July 15th was also the date the Bossier Parish Police jury voted unanimously in favor of Ordinance Number 22, a resolution that would impose criminal sanctions on anyone accused of being in a gendered bathroom that deviates from their sex assigned at birth and who refuses to leave upon request. It covers any bathroom, locker room, or changing room owned by the parish, including at courthouses, government buildings, and public parks. I just want you to think about that, Chuds. Think about it. If you were barred from going into restrooms, or you had to go to a restroom that was opposite of how you present, think about that. Think about having to walk into a restroom that does not represent how you present. Think about that. What's going to happen? What kind of reaction are you going to get? I don't even understand how you can't feel the fear that someone feels. Like, I can feel the fear just by reading this and just the menacing. I can feel the fear that people might have experienced. I just don't know how you can even put those two things in your mind and think, oh, this is okay. Like, I can stop people from using a bathroom. I don't really care what happens to them after that. It cited the passage of the Women's Safety and Protection Act, a bill pushed by anti-trans activists establishing definitions relating to biological sex and recognizing the authority of governmental entities to maintain separate accommodations based on biological sex. A resolution from the July 15th police jury meeting reads, Ordinance 22 would require any and all municipal employees, from police officers to janitors, to monitor bathrooms for suspected trans people using the wrong one. If an employee fails to eject the individual whose gender or sex have been called into question, they must be met with disciplinary action, the ordinance reads. And if a trans person or presumed trans person does not leave upon request from a stranger making assumptions about their gender, genitals, and biological makeup, then they could face criminal charges and up to a year in jail. The criminal charges and threat of incarceration make it perhaps the most severe anti-trans local bathroom policy in the country. It's also unclear whether the ordinance is actually in effect. Government officials gave Aaron in the morning different answers when asked. Initially, local news reports said there would be a final vote on August 5th. Several jurors told Aaron in the morning the adoption was final. The parish attorney did not respond to requests for comment. The sheriff's office said it had not yet been adopted at all. A document posted ahead of this week's August 5th meeting indicates they will consider having another public hearing. Nobody showed up to testify at the first one. The ACLU of Louisiana sent the governing body a letter alleging it didn't properly advertise the vote, violating open meeting laws, and that they would need to restart the process. If that resolution passes, then there will be an opportunity for public comment on the matter scheduled for September 2nd, parish documents indicate. Now, community groups are mobilizing both to support Rush and Sanders and to challenge Ordinance 22. Things have gotten bad, said Peyton Michelle Rose, executive director for the statewide advocacy group, Louisiana Trans Advocates. But we've already had it bad. We're used to standing up for ourselves. That I think is one of the keys that I hear from a lot of trans activists, or a lot from trans activists that I know, is we're used to standing up for ourselves. You know, we're used to standing up for ourselves. So, seems to me the trans community feels very alone in this battle, very unsupported in this battle. That's what it seems to me. And I think it's, I really, I'm going to just say this, and I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but I just want to say this. Please stop saying that it's only 1% of the population or whatever it is you say. Please stop saying that. The size of this population shouldn't matter at all. I'm sorry. It just shouldn't. These are real people. I just, it really gets me every time I hear someone say, oh, but it's just 1% of the population. Why are people so upset? Stop. Stop that. That is minimizing people. So that's my PSA. Really gets me every time I hear that. Who cares? That shouldn't matter. I know that people are saying it in order to say, listen, people are so upset, but this isn't something that is, but just the whole, there's no way to say that doesn't minimize the problem. When you say that, it minimizes the problem, which is not minimal. Please stop it. It just feels really weird when people say that. I just really makes me mad. It doesn't make me mad. It just, it's like, no, that's not, no. Anyway. Meanwhile, multiple jurors told Aaron in the morning that the ordinance was requested by Bossier Parish Sheriff Julian Whittington. Well, who the hell is this Julian Whittington bitch? Let's figure out. I need to see this person. And there he is. Let me share this. That's him. There he is. Pathetic. I don't know. I know that people aren't doing it to minimize the problem. Let me say that. Let me be clear. I know people don't say that in order to minimize the problem. I do know that. I just, what I hear when I hear it is that, and I'm not trans, but when I hear people say, oh, it's only X% of the population, I feel like we're minimizing it. And so I know that people's intention isn't to minimize it, but I think that's the impact. Does that make sense? So anyway, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want anyone to have the worst day at work. But I just want to say that really gets under my craw. I think that's a wrong thing to say. I think that's the wrong direction to go. I don't know. I know there's some good intention behind it because you just want people to chill out and not feel like, there's, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know why, but I know that there's not bad intention on everyone who says it, but I'm just saying the unintended consequence of saying something like that, I think, is that it minimizes the problem, and this problem is not minimal. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Sorry. I know I keep hitting it. I probably need to go smoke some weed. There was nothing on the books for him to do as law enforcement, juror Glenn Benton said in an interview. That's why he asked us to do it. Yeah, you're a real brave guy there, Jim. For Rush and Sanders, the uphill climb that remains is not just legal or political. They continue to struggle with chronic health problems. Yeah, because they were assaulted. They are still adjusting to their new normal of chronic migraines, shifting court dates, mounting medical bills, and severe PTSD. I'm a completely different person, Sanders said. I'm terrified now. I've never been scared like this before. She's cute. Cute hair. They're cute. God, it's ridiculous. Fucking just let people live. God, can you just let people live? Can you let people live? You fucking assholes. I think it's said in the same way people say Muslims are under 2%, as in they are not taking over. I understand, Max. That's absolutely, I understand that. Thank you for saying that the way you did, because I wasn't saying it right. I think you're right. I think the intention is to say, hey, this is not, whatever. But still, I don't know. I feel like in this particular case too, it really doesn't do a service to it. But that's just me. I was at a lunch party with some coworkers who were LGB, and some of the older women started ranting about the trans community. I was fucking shocked and never lunched with them again. Interesting. I mean, I think within within communities, there's also a lot of, I mean, I guess there's bigotry within every community, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is that I've found that to be the case. So that is not unbelievable, let's say. Another beautiful piece from our friend Meowing Star. LGBTQ Nation. This time, the litigation is not over. Fight continues as appeals court rules in favor of Florida drag ban. What the hell? I see it as if you say it's only 1%, then you say that's small enough to get rid of. Oh, well, then that's a good point, Teresa. I didn't think of that. Yeah, just let people live. I don't know. And you know what? And what was it? What was it? Something, what was it? Something, did Martin Luther King say that? Well, and you know what? Here's the thing, J Rance. We grow, we learn. We all are in a constant state of growth and learning. I really feel that. I don't begrudge anyone who has experienced something one way. When I was growing up, my parents were extraordinarily good about, human rights, civil rights, gay rights, anti-war, farm workers' rights, black right. We were very much. We had a picture of Martin Luther King on our in our dining room. I really grew up, but I still know that myself, I still held either beliefs I learned from other people or assumptions I made about things, or, just whatever problematic view I might have had from my white upbringing kind of thing. I acknowledge that. I have learned, I have changed my perceptions of things over time. I have, and I just think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, all of us have more to do. Really, when you think about it, I got to get over some stuff. I definitely do. But I think that we can, I don't know. I watched enough FA to know there are people not capable. I don't know what that means. Watched enough FA? What's FA? What's FA? Anyway. Yeah, I just think that it's all an evolution. And I do believe people we'll move through this part, right? I believe that. I believe that trans rights will be codified. I believe that trans children will be able to access healthcare in safe settings. I believe those things. But we can't, I don't know, we just have to just be open to learning, be open to the fact that you might have been wrong, I don't know. Effing O. Oh, okay. I watched enough fuck around to know that there are people not capable of finding out. Is that what it means? Watch enough fucking around to know there are people not capable of finding out. Oh, it's like the Holocaust Museum in LA. After the intro video, all those who have no prejudices go through this door, all other through this one. Oh, the no prejudice door doesn't open. I mean, that's it. We're so human. This is such a human life, full of flaws, full of petty, full of beauty, full of art, full of anger, full of war, full of, it's got everything. This life has everything. The hottest club on the earth is humanity. Join me. All right. This also, August 5th, 2026, piece comes to us. A federal appeals court ruled 8-5 in favor of Florida's anti-drag with the drag law on Tuesday, with the majority deciding the law does not violate the First Amendment. Yeah, go after the drag queens. Fuck, man. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, good old Clarence Thomas's appeals court, or circuit rather, struck down a preliminary injunction imposed by a lower court, reasoning that there is no doubt the act is I don't know what that says because it's fucked me a little bit here. Oh, here we go. Is rational and is consistent with the legislative intent. Why is this a big line down the middle? That's very inconvenient. Reasoning that there is no doubt the act is rational and is consistent with the legislative intent to target drag shows that are obscene for children. Drag shows writ large. Are they really? Wow. What drag shows are they going to? I don't know. Fafo, yeah. Morning, Tom. There you are. When I see people being themselves, it makes me smile. Oh, I love that, Tom. Oh, I didn't share the right thing. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize I wasn't sharing the right thing. Yeah, Tom, I want people to be themselves. I want joy. I want unmitigated joy. That's what I want. This life is too short. This life is too short for this kind of bullshit. I'm sorry. It just is. All right, so Clarence Thomas's 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Oh, okay. Drag shows. The decision follows the court's announcement in September 2025 that it had struck down an appeals court panel's earlier decision upholding an injunction that would hold a full court hearing instead. Orlando's branch of Hamburger Mary's, the iconic burger drag show joint founded in neighborhoods across America, sued the DeSantis administration over the law in 2023. Claiming it deprived the establishment of its First Amendment rights. The restaurant said it was losing customers under the state's new rules targeting drag shows. The ban, signed by Florida Governor DeSantis, who's still alive, on May 17th, allows the State Department of Business and... Remember when we were worried he would run for president? He might still. I shouldn't say that. Allows the Department of Business and Professional Regulation to revoke the business licenses of any venue that allow minors to see drag performances described in the bill as adult live performance, even if their parents consent, as well as... So that sounds like freedom. That sounds like freedom, doesn't it, freedom lovers? Doesn't that? Oh, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. You're making a decision for someone else about what entertainment they can show their children. It's not CSAM, folks. Okay? It's a fucking drag show. Get over it. Oh my God. As well as issue $5,000 and $10,000 fines against the business. Anyone who violates the law can be charged with a criminal misdemeanor. According to the suit, Hamburger Mary's has wait, what? Sorry. Again, there's this big white stripe down the middle of it. Has lost 20% of its reservations for Sunday shows and other events since announcing that minors could no longer be in attendance when drag performers were present at a high percentage of wait staff regularly dress in drag as well. The broad sweeping nature of the statute and the vagueness regarding what conduct is and is not prohibited will have a chilling effect on the First Amendment rights of the citizens of Florida, the lawsuit says. It's so broad, the restaurant's representatives argue that it could criminalize even the most innocent drag performances and reach into the private homes of Floridians to determine on behalf of parents what is and is not appropriate entertainment for their children. Dissenting Judge Robin Rosenbaum agreed, writing in response to the ruling, here's the bottom line. The act is a hammer, and under its vague language, law enforcement can treat lots of protected speech as nails. Its vague language purporting to address obscenity serves as an especially pernicious club to silence political speech. Florida's anti-LGBTQ Attorney General James, what's his name? What's his name? Wait a minute. James, what's his name? You're going to tell me, aren't you, Jay? Oathmeyer, that's right, celebrated the appeals court ruling, calling it a huge victory to keep children from attending sexualized drag shows. Okay. All right, James. We'll find out your tapes later on. Okay. Hamburger Mary's attorney, Melissa Stewart, slammed the decision in a statement in the Tallahassee Democrat, saying the court held that the state now, God damn it, that the state may target speech it dislikes and strip parents of their right to determine what is appropriate for their own children. We believe that the First Amendment's protections are more robust than that, Stewart added. This litigation is not over, and we will continue fighting to protect free speech in the state of Florida. We'll be following that one, too. Let me take a cup of coffee. Clarence wouldn't want people to be. Where's Neil? He's here. I saw that. Did I understand what you wrote? I think I understood what you wrote. Multitasking, attaboy. Clarence wouldn't want any people to watch drag shows. He would rather people watch doing it with him. Is he into that? Interesting. Is he into that? I think I understood. Were you speaking Italian, Tom? Didn't you write an Italian in the comment? I answered in Italian. I hope. I hope it was Italian. Okay. Oh, these are beautiful. These are so recent. Thank you so much, Meowing. This is a piece from Canary, and this is about the UK, because remember we were talking yesterday about what's happening in the UK, and the UK has become just a hotbed of anti-trans, anti-immigrant. Obviously, we've seen all of that, but I'm going to tell you, in watching the anti-immigrant protests over the last year, the anti-trans people come right out there with them. Hi, Paul. I had fun at band camp. I mean, practice. My homework is smoke on the water, in the skies. Oh my God. Smoke on the Water, Roadhouse Blues, Satisfaction, and Jumping Jack Flash. I want to sing with your band. I bet you already have a singer though, huh, Paul? Teresa, I talked with Clarence and Mitch as they entered a Tijuana donkey show last week. What a coincidence. Good one. Good one, Tom. All right. So this is, again, we're going across the pond because trans rights are under attack across the world. Most notably in the Western countries. That was the comment prior to mine. Oh, wait, what? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I hope the EHRC code of practice haunts its architects. I like that. All right, let me make this a little bigger, little bigger, little bigger, bigger, bigger. All right. The Equality and Human Rights Commission, EHRC Transphobic Code of Practice, which recommends organizations that offer single-sex spaces and services should exclude trans people, takes effect today. I cannot believe this. I can't believe this stuff. I can't believe that it does look spacious, but it's really a pretty small bedroom. It's not a huge bedroom, but I think it's the angle makes it look bigger. It's funny. Turned out to be me for some songs. Oh, nice. I signed Susan up for this and not me on my and now you're the one. Yes, the Italian comment. That came out as a confirmation talking about people animal sex videos. Really, Teresa? God, you're so good. You are like the steel trap of this shit. Let's see. The Canary has already highlighted the problems with this code at length. It's utterly opaque, non-functional, and a blank check to harass trans, intersex, and gender non-conforming individuals. The article isn't about the contents of the code. It's not even about how this sorry shithole of a queer bashing country got to this point. Rather, this article expresses a heartfelt wish that this code haunts its architects within labor and outside of, in just the same way that Section 28 haunts the Tories to this day. MP Nadia Whittam's early day motion calling on Parliament to disapprove the code received a record 167 signatures. Labour, Lib Dem, SNP, Green, Plaid, Cymru, that must be the Wales, SDLP, Your Party, and independent MPs lent their support. Nevertheless, it has now passed its 40 days of scrutiny without so much as a vote. The new code erases the vast majority of steps forward in trans inclusion since the Gender Recognition Act. The government originally passed the 2004 legislation after the European Court of Human Rights ruled that the UK had failed in its human rights obligations by failing to recognize trans people's genders. I hope he did. I think Mitch should be dead. Yeah, I know. Drag has been part of art for also since millennia. I don't know. Do we remember, like, what is it? The Greeks? Didn't the Greeks, like, all the men dressed as women to play the women parts and in the Globe Theater and Shakespeare? What the fuck, man? Why is everyone so scared? The government originally passed the 2004 legislation after the European Court of Human Rights ruled that the UK had failed in its human rights obligations by failing to recognize trans people's genders. Apparently, the UK is now ignoring that fact. Oh, meowing. Just got off the phone with my mom. She had a heart catheterization. Oh, she's recovering well. We'll go back and listen to what I missed later. Oh, love, I'm happy for your mom. I hope she really heals fast. Oh. Hoping for mom's quick recovery. For that matter, the Gender Recognition Act itself states where a full gender recognition certificate is issued to a person, the person's gender becomes for all purposes the acquired gender. That law hasn't gone anywhere. However, it suddenly grants a certified sex rather than a biological sex, giving question to what all purposes was worth in the first place. During a June parliamentary debate on the EHRC's code, Whittam asked and pointed out, quote, "Why are the government pushing ahead with this? Why not instead withdraw the guidance and legislate to clarify that the Equality Act 2010 was always intended to be trans inclusive? For goodness sake, it was passed after the last Labor government passed the Gender Recognition Act in 2004. The government knows perfectly well its intention to be trans inclusive at the time the Equality Act is written. In fact, it included specific exceptions detailing and only when trans people could be excluded. That is, the exclusion has to be in a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. However, limiting or modifying access to or excluding a trans person from the separate or single-sex service of the gender in which they present will be unlawful if you cannot show such action is a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. This applies whether or not the person has a gender recognition certificate." That explanation was from the EHRC's own website. The same wording remains in the Equality Act. However, the government is now treating the exclusion of trans people as a legitimate aim in and of itself. If our public institutions hadn't been captured by transphobic voices, that legitimate aim would be decried as a rank discrimination that it is. Our left-wing politicians recognize that once, even if their memories have now become conveniently short. Just 4 years ago, when he was leader of the opposition in 22, ex-Prime Minister Keir Starmer told the Times, "A woman is a female adult, and in addition to that, trans women are women. And that is not just my view, that is actually the law." After the Supreme Court ruled the Equality Act didn't recognize trans people as their lived genders, Starmer then had a lackey state the opposite on his behalf. Asked if then PM agreed that trans women are women, they said, "No, the Supreme Court judgment has made clear that when looking at the Equality Act, a woman is a biological woman." How did he let that stand? The job of overseeing the EHRC's code as it comes into force now falls on Andy Burnham. Like his predecessor, he once ridiculed single-sex restrictions on bathrooms. Then, when he wanted to grub for reform-leaning votes in Makerfield, he suddenly became a supporter of the transphobic code. Likewise, Women and Equalities Minister Bridget Phillipson once supported trans-inclusive spaces. Now she's presiding over the wholesale destruction of those spaces. She's one of the few cabinet members whom Burnham retained in her old role whilst also promoting her to a Labor Party chair. Sudden and complete reversal in a nominally left-wing party's attitude to any minorities' rights, this naked political opportunism should scare anyone. I'm going to read that again because that is also something in this country that we need to fear. The sudden and complete reversal in a nominally left-wing party's attitude to any minorities' rights, this naked political opportunism should scare anyone. The fact that laws can suddenly be reinterpreted to justify the blanket removal of a minority's rights is not a sign of a functional legal system. Phillipson is vile. It sounds like it. Yeah, sounds like it. Rather, these are signs that none of us are safe and none of us can trust our society. Trans people once had guarantees that this exact situation could not happen. The Gender Recognition Act and the Equality Act safeguarded them. However, the government has demonstrated that it's happy to ignore these guarantees. This is a demonstration of what they'll do to any minority group if they can get away with it, if they think they'll win them a few dirty votes. If by some remote miracle British society ever becomes trans-inclusive again, I hope that the stain of this code never leaves Starmer, Burnham, Phillipson, and all the other left-wing MPs who rushed headlong to strip a small queer minority group of their rights in a pursuit of a clap on the back from the transphobic media. I hope this is what they're remembered for, this bonfire of trans rights, alongside asylum seekers and migrants' rights, protest rights, and others, should obscure any good they may have ever think they did. May their names be a byword for hatred, bigotry, and spineless cowardice. And in a just world, this would be their legacy. May it fucking haunt them. And I'm still going to piss wherever I damn well like. I love it. That was a good one. That was a good one. Doo-doo. Oh my God. J.K. Rowling. Jesus Christ. Pantless duck and shirtless mouse. Yeah. Hello. Woke cartoons. I mean, this. You just. Here's the thing. I'm going to say it again. The common ground is that you understand that what you feel about trans people, if you are trying to restrict their movement, restrict their activity, restrict their access to healthcare, restrict, if you're doing that, you're wrong. Period. There's no conversation. If you can't understand what I'm saying to you about empathy and humanity and human rights and civil rights, then you don't get it. I guess I'm the worst person to try and negotiate with people because I know where I have wiggle room, okay? I know where I have wiggle room. But this is not it. You have to, like, I know where I could, have a debate with you about a policy, immigration, whatever. If you want to talk about immigration policy, maybe there's ways to, whatever. But this is human and civil rights and dignity and empathy and humanity and get over yourselves. Ugh, God, I just think back to some of the chuds I've heard and it's just really upsetting. All right. Another beautiful piece from Aaron in the morning, this time from Aaron Reed. Thank you. July 31st, so just a few days ago, Amnesty International UK caves to J.K. Rowling, issues apology for calling anti-trans groups anti-rights. What? I never liked Amnesty International. Can I just tell you? This is it. Yeah. See, meowing. I understand what you're saying. I feel the same way. This is it. And this is what I've been saying. If you call yourself a Democrat, but you are not full-throated in defense of trans rights and access to health care, if you are not in those camps, then you are not a Democrat. Because that's not what I think of as a Democrat. That's like non-negotiable. Human rights, civil rights are non-fucking negotiable. Sorry. I mean, sorry. That's just the way it is. So yeah, no, we can't let go. We can't stop. We can't stop demanding that politicians fucking reflect the the moral path. Like, fuck, man. Like, this is so stupid. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Oh, I think I have to go this way. Sorry. Oh my God. Yeah, J.K. Rowling. What the fuck? Wasn't even that good, okay? All right. Harry Potter's overrated. How about that? Actually, it was a really good set of books, but she fucked up big time. And she just can't stop because she's a bad human. Amnesty International has never impressed me. I'm going to be really honest with you. In the world of nonprofits, Amnesty International is perceived a little bit like, I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like a lot of fluff. Does that sound terrible? But I mean, there just are some groups like Human Rights Watch and stuff like that. Some of those, they do good work. I'm not saying they don't, but some of it is a little fluffy. I don't know. In liberal democracies, advocacy groups are often free to criticize what they see as groups opposing the rights of those they advocate for. In the United States, for instance, the Southern Poverty Law Center designates groups opposing the rights of minorities as hate groups. The American Cancer Society, yeah. Wait, Dr. El Sayed platform is all about Medicare for all. If people want to keep their private insurance, they can. I mean, I think there's probably ways to do that. You know. What about what did I say? The American Cancer Society. Glad that Michigan Democrats are very trans affirming and protecting. We updated our name change laws to make it easy for trans people to change our names as a recently. That makes sense. And even that is hard. Changing your name as a married person or a divorced person, that's hard. So it's hard enough as normal. That's good to hear, meowing. Let's see. Southern Law, an effective moniker that helps organizations and people avoid association with such movements. One of the most effective organizations at opposing hate and violence worldwide is Amnesty International, which has stood up to dictators and death squads to report accurately and advocate for globally marginalized people. Now, though Amnesty appears to have met its greatest threat, not a government or military junta, but the anti-trans activist and writer J.K. Rowling and the anti-transgender critical movement she finances, who has successfully forced the organization as of this morning to issue an apology for calling anti-trans groups anti-rights. But what are they if not that? On July 8th, Amnesty International UK released a report titled A Growing Threat, the Anti-Rights Movement in the UK. The report mapped 117 organizations working to restrict the rights of, among others, transgender and queer people in the United Kingdom, and documented the financial infrastructure behind them, including far-right Christian nationalist organizations, US-based legal powerhouses like Alliance Defending Freedom, just found that one out too. We talked about them, and conversion therapy promoters. Many gender critical groups were also listed, a moniker used in the United Kingdom to describe trans exclusionary activists who have driven much of the extreme downturn in civil rights for trans people in the country, including Sex Matters, a policy group that helped bring the Supreme Court case redefining woman under the Equality Act as excluding trans women, and Bira's Place, a sexual assault support center founded and funded by billionaire J.K. Rowling that explicitly excludes transgender women from its services, and was established after Rowling objected to Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center's inclusive policies. Wow, that is one well-funded cunt. How many names is JD Vance on now? Yeah, good point, Josh. Basically removed having to go before a judge and pay upwards of $500. Oh, yeah. Removed having to go to a judge. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, well, that's something. I mean, that's one thing. The response was immediate. Anti-transgender activists financed by Rowling flooded Amnesty International UK with legal threat letters demanding the report be withdrawn. Rowling herself posted on Twitter, should any of the women's organizations targeted by Amnesty UK's recent anti-rights blacklist wish to take legal action, applications can be made to the J.K. Rowling Women's Fund. That fund is a private legal war chest she launched in May 2025, backed by an immense personal fortune, with no public board, no outside oversight. The threats were serious due to UK policies allowing the mega wealthy to sue people who criticize them into submission. Unlike the United States, where anti-SLAPP laws allow defendants to get these suits dismissed early, the UK has no comprehensive protections for those using their freedom of speech to criticize abuses. Likewise, under UK defamation law, the burden of proof falls on the defendant. The report came down within 48 hours. For 3 weeks, the question was whether Amnesty would stand behind its own research or capitulate entirely. This morning, we got the answer, a full groveling apology from the organization that has weathered the Soviet Union, Putin's Russia, the Bush administration's defense of Guantanamo Bay, but could not weather J.K. Rowling. In its apology, Amnesty completely capitulated, saying the document should never have been published and calling its publication an error. It specifically disavowed the labeling of anti-transgender critical organizations as anti-rights, stating, in particular, we apologize to Beer's Place and other groups, which we categorized as gender critical organizations, which we should not have collectively labeled as anti-rights. The apology identified no factual errors in the report. It did not retract the specific finding. It did not name a single inaccuracy. It simply surrendered the entire document. Here is the full apology. We apologize for the publication of the briefing, A Growing Threat, the Anti-Rights Movement in the UK. This document should never have been published, and full responsibility for this error rests with Amnesty International UK. This sounds like very much like a legal, like you either put this statement out or you're going to lose it all, which I find it hard to believe because Amnesty International has a big fucking corporate structure behind them. They are a huge organization with lots of lawyers. I'm really shocked by this. That's so dumb. The briefing was taken down within 48 hours of publication as soon as management were notified of its existence and was not actively promoted and will not be republished. We have an ongoing internal investigation into how this briefing came to be published. Bullshit. What in the world is happening? What? Whilst we do not share the views of all these organizations, we recognize the concerns raised by those labeled as anti-rights in the document. To be clear, this labeling does not represent our institutional position. We apologize for its inclusion. In particular, we apologize to Bear Place, which we categorize as gender critical, which we should not have collectively labeled as anti-rights. We've also taken down an earlier, more discursive briefing entitled Like a Snowball, which also referenced a wide range of organizations. AIUK holds itself to the highest standards of research, evidence, and editorial oversight in all its publications. We've concluded that this briefing fell significantly short of those standards. We will commission an independent external review to learn from this moment. Wow, this is like a really big fucking apology. AIUK remains fully committed to defending human rights, dignity, and equality of all marginalized groups, including women, girls, members of the trans community. No, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah. J.K. Rowling, who used J.K. so that people thought she might be a man when writing her fucking books. UK libel and slander laws are very different. That's true. They are much more significant. But this seems to be like a real, I don't know, this feels very like somebody at Amnesty International decided to take a moment. You know what I mean? Like, Rowling celebrated. She posted on Twitter, your apology for labeling women-only rape support center Bear's Place anti-rights is a nice birthday present, Amnesty UK. Cheers. And congratulations to all the other women's and LGBT organizations. That's right. Amnesty acknowledges heavily wrongly smeared as anti-rights. Then she turned to Genevieve Gluck, the co-founder of Redux, an anti-trans website the Southern Poverty Law Center has described as nothing but rabid transphobia, and compared to white nationalist crime listing sites for its obsessive cataloging of alleged trans offenders, a site whose co-founder has appeared on the Daily Wire to claim that pornography is turning men transgender. Well, which pornography is that? Which porn are you watching? Gluck expressed disappointment at not making Amnesty list herself, posting, to be honest, I was a little disappointed to have not gotten even an honorable mention. Rowling replied warmly, I like to think you were on the long list, Genevieve. Hi, Michael. Hi, Hags. Good to see you, bud. This is not the first time Rowling has used the threat of litigation to silence critics in the UK. In 2022, she threatened legal action against a social media user who called her a Nazi, forcing a public apology. Where have we heard all this before? In 2024, her lawyers compelled journalist Rivka Brown, whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors, to publicly retract a tweet calling Rowling a Holocaust denier after Rowling dismissed the Nazis' well-documented targeting of transgender people. Her lawyers even required Brown to edit the apology's phrasing. However, Rawlings' reach does not extend to the United States, where the First Amendment and anti-SLAPP legislation protect news publishers from accurately reporting on her promotion of anti-rights policies. The capitulation of Amnesty International signals a bleak new era for transgender people in the UK and really everywhere. If Amnesty International is going to bow down to this, then it's everywhere. The country that once ranked first in Europe for LGBTQ plus rights now sits 22nd on the ILGA Europe rainbow map after 11 consecutive years of decline. Under the Labour government, the rollbacks have only accelerated. Bathroom bans, school guidance erasing trans students, a trans youth care ban, and more. Now, major institutions cannot even criticize the groups responsible for this. Meanwhile, the transgender people in the UK are watching groups cower in submission to these threats and left wondering if there's anyone left that they can turn to for help. Heard from our mutual dear friend in Hollywood, and she told me of the news of your move. Yes. Come on down. Come on down. I guess you're above me. Down. Come on down. Come on down, come on down, come on down. Yeah. Please do plan a visit. All right, let's keep going. I'm so grateful. God, Meowing Star sent me this beautiful list of articles, and I'm just so grateful. This is one of the best mornings. Just to have all this great information. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It takes work. This is from the Buckeye Flame. Amy Acton's, it's Ohio. Amy Acton's campaign staff met with Ohio LGBTQ plus leaders. The meeting did not go well. Acton didn't attend. Leaders were barred from entry. Others were kicked out. I know. June non-farm payrolls were revised 20K from 57. I'm going to tell you right now, they can try and sugarcoat this fucking economy all they want, but it's not healthy, and people are going to start losing their jobs. It's not going to be good. Sorry, everybody. Hi, Amy. Nice Amazon here. Amy Acton's opponent, Republican Vivek Ramaswamy, received an F on Equality Ohio's. Yeah, Vivek. Oh boy. Yeah, he'd be pretty bad. Representatives from Amy Acton's gubernatorial campaign staff met with 40 LGBTQ plus leaders on a Zoom call on Tuesday. The meeting followed weeks of pushback from Ohio LGBTQ plus leaders in response to anti-transgender comments that Acton made to the Toledo Blade on June 30th regarding the U.S. Supreme Court's recent decision to uphold state ban on transgender athletes. Yeah, but the president said we're in the golden age, the golden P age. I do not support boys playing in girls' sports. This is already settled law in Ohio, and as governor, I will enforce and uphold the law. Acton said, as a doctor, public servant, as a mom, I will always stand up for fairness and protect kids' health and safety. So why are you trying to exclude kids from sports? The Buckeye Flame received an invitation to the meeting on July 17th, RSVP'd yes, but then was informed by Jeremy Blake, the political director for the Ohio Democratic Party, that it was his understanding that this meeting will have no reporters. We spoke with 5 people who were at the meeting. Although most said they entered the meeting with hope, they left dissatisfied. Some prominent LGBTQ plus leaders were not admitted into the virtual space, and individuals were removed from the Zoom mid-call. Yeah, Green Giant has the P-tapes. Let's hope. Golden age for billionaires, yeah. Acton herself did not attend the meeting, despite many participants' hopes that she would, since she's the fucking candidate. Reverend Dr. Ben Helskamp, executive director of Love Boldly, said the meeting did more harm than good. The meeting did more to inflame tensions and create further divides between the LGBTQ plus community and Acton campaign, said Helskamp, also a board member of the Buckeye Flame. It was framed beforehand as a conversation, but was run as a one-sided listening session. It was a shit show, said one meeting participant, who we have agreed to keep anonymous due to safety concerns. The preparation that was needed for this type of conversation did not seem to happen. Ari Childrey, an out transgender candidate for the Ohio House who has publicly spoken out against Acton's comments, was refused entry by the organizers from the virtual waiting room into the actual meeting. At one point in the meeting, Kyle Herman, chair of the Ohio Democrats' Pride Caucus and member of the Stoke City Council, called Childrey's phone and had her participate live via speakerphone so that her voice would be heard in the room. Our voices were actively suppressed, Childrey posted on social media. That was an absolute low of the evening, Holzkamp said. After the call, a progressive leader on Discord called it a fit of transphobic sadism. When Dayton and out trans activist Ciara Keaton noticed that her colleague Childrey wasn't in the meeting, she spoke up right at the start of the virtual session. I demanded 3 times to know why Childrey was not being allowed into the meeting, as she is a current candidate, Pride Caucus vice chair, local activist, advocate, and leader, said Keaton, a Navy veteran. I felt her not being there was incredibly disgusting. Keaton said the response from Acton's campaign each time was that they were trying to have a productive conversation. Yes. By the 3rd time, I lost my temper, ended up cussing them out, and they ejected me from the meeting and refused to allow me back in, said Keaton. Keaton said she was left feeling heartbroken, disgusted, and exhausted. She said that every day the news about trans people is harrowing, from stories about trans people losing their lives to violence or suicide, new anti-trans bills, and nearly $250 million spent by Republicans on political ads targeting trans Americans. She said she's tired of trans people being told that they are an ideological purity test when so many trans people are begging for assistance. And the Acton campaign in the Ohio Democratic Party has proven that they don't care, Keaton said. They just showed everybody they don't care with this meeting. Amy wasn't even there. The question now, what happens next? During the meeting, Dwayne Stewart, executive director of Equality Ohio, announced that the organization had changed Acton's grade from an A to pending on the 2026 candidate scorecard. During the meeting, trans people don't get left behind in the name of progress. That's it. Let me read that again. Trans people don't get left behind in the name of progress. Stewart wrote in a release that was emailed on Friday. Not in our coalition, not in this election, and not in the future we're building together. Columbus-based community activist Trish Richter had hoped that Acton would use the meeting as an opportunity to have a conversation with the LGBTQ plus community and repair some of the harm she caused with her statement. As was said by my colleagues last night, I believe in harm reduction, so I look forward to her team's next steps and hope she invests the time in speaking with Ohio's LGBTQ leadership directly to determine a path forward and how we work together to create an Ohio where trans youth can not only survive but thrive, Richter said. Herman hopes there will be more inclusion in future meetings. I hope that all candidates will do a better job of showing their support for trans Ohioans and that their campaigns will do a better job of including trans leaders in conversations about issues of importance to the LGBTQ plus community, Herman said. I was glad to see that this was framed as the start of things and not a one and done, said the anonymous participant about comments in the meeting from Acton's campaign indicating that the plan was to have future meetings. The Buckeye Flame reached out to Dr. Acton's staff on July 6 to schedule an interview regarding her candidacy and received this response. Dr. Acton doesn't have room in her schedule for this right now. We will keep in touch and circle back with any openings. We have since reached out twice more, including an email specifically asking for quotes regarding the meeting on Tuesday, but haven't received any response. So Acton in Ohio, girl, you're fucking up. You're fucking way up. Here's the thing, folks. Let me tell you, okay? It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new... and I'm feeling good. No, listen, okay? Here's the thing. You are not actually going to win by excluding trans people from your Democratic candidacy. If you're a Democrat running for office in this country and you decide that this is your strategy, that somehow you have to remain viable to some, faceless group of moderates who, if moderates aren't in favor of trans rights, then they're not moderate. What don't we get about this? If you are claiming that, you just love civil rights, you're all kinds of Democrat, blah, 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 but I don't think you really want trans girls playing in sports. You're not a Democrat. Not in my mind, anyway. So I don't know. I'm sorry. You're on the wrong side of this issue. Period. Period. And you have also shown me that you have zero fucking spine. And I'm not going to vote for anyone who doesn't have a fucking spine. Fully automated luxury gay space communism now. Yes. Now. Anyway. The meeting did more to inflame tensions and create further divides between the LGBTQ plus community and the Acton campaign, said Holzkamp, also a board. Oh, I'm sorry. I already did that. I'm sorry. I already read all that. Oh, that's right, because I read the whole thing. Sorry. That make me. I don't stop. And here we go again. Here we go again. Are we picking on the Nazis again? Are they crying? Probably. They're always crying. They're always crying about something. All right. And this piece from the Advocate, federal court blocks Idaho law criminalizing restroom use by transgender people. This is also for all the people who I've heard over the last few days say, why are trans people so upset about their rights? Nothing's happening. They get the same rights as everybody else. Why do they need special rights? Well, because there's laws that specially target them. I don't want, and I certainly don't want Vivek Ramaswamy to win in Ohio. Trust and believe. Vivek Ramaswamy is probably a worse person than Acton. At the same time, Acton has a real opportunity here, and she better not fuck it up. It does upset me. It upsets me when Democrats do that. You're right, Meowing Star. And I think the noise has to be loud so that Acton knows, oh, wait a minute, maybe I fucked this one up. Okay? Maybe I fucked this one up. Because I'm not trans. And I wouldn't vote for her. So, okay, you got to do something, Acton. You got to fucking do something. We have to insist that all rights are upheld. We can't just be comfortable if, our pet project is getting addressed. Right? We have to be upset when everyone's rights or everyone, if anyone is being excluded from the conversation, it's time to get upset about that. Because when we vote for the moderate or when we vote for all the milquetoast approaches to rights and other things, when we do that, all we're doing is diluting our own rights. That's all we're doing. Really, people. This is from the Advocate. Sorry, I didn't show it to you. Federal court blocks Idaho law criminalizing restroom use by transgender people. A federal judge has blocked Idaho's transgender bathroom ban before it can take effect, ruling that, and this is from June 16th, forgive me, this is from June 16th of this year, ruling that key provisions of the law are likely unconstitutional and questioning whether police could realistically enforce it without arbitrary or discriminatory action. In a 30-page decision issued Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Amanda K. Brailsford granted a preliminary injunction against House Bill 752, one of the nation's strictest bathroom restrictions targeting transgender people. The judge also provisionally certified a statewide class of transgender Idahoans, extending the ruling's protections beyond the handful of plaintiffs who brought the lawsuit. The decision marks a significant setback for Idaho officials and anti-LGBTQ activists who championed the measure as a way to protect women and children in public restrooms. Instead, the court concluded that the law's enforcement mechanisms are so unclear as to likely violate the Constitution's due process guarantee. And I'll go ahead. Let me pull up this. I'm going to go ahead and I will share this 30-page decision from the Idaho court so that you have that in the links as well. Yeah, smash the like. Yeah, she. Let's see. Do, 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 do. This, I think, is back in the UK. Back in the USSR. Don't know how lucky you are, boys. Back in the USSR. Labor Party's Day of Shame. This is August 5th, 26th. That's how, the British are so silly. Look at the British with their silly date formats. What the hell? How about a law against that? Thanks for the jewels. We got to do a song. Let's do a song. Let's do a song for Oren. Oren, let's see. What song do we do? Hold on. Maybe this one. Oh, there's a gift from Oren. 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 Oren sent 30 jewels. Go, Oren. Thanks, Oren. That's right. Celebrating human rights here on the show. I love human rights. Thanks, Oren. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and wouldn't have to let businesses choose to be. Yeah. Thank you, Oren. The Labor Party's Day of Shame. This is from Translucent. Today is August 5th, 2026, a day of shame for the UK and the UK Labour Party in particular. This is the day the UK government brings into force the UK Equality and Human Rights Commission's new guidance on the provision of services. And this is what we talked about in the J.K. Rowling piece. Do trans people have a right to exist? Do trans people have a right to self-defense? My Israel plan for trans rights. I know. Hi, Heather. Oh, hi, Heather and Todd. Know that PETA Heather is always Heather and Todd. We love them. Let's see. So this is a little more information about the UK law. And yeah, the ruling is a huge win, meowing. I'm curious to see how that stands. You know what I mean? We always have this back and forth with these laws. So I'm really curious to see how that stands. Really want to see that. I want to watch those cases. This is the day the UK government brings into force the UK Equality and Human Rights Commission on Provision of Services. It's a long document, but the shameful provision is confirmation of the finding of the UK Supreme Court that sex in the Equality Act 2010 means biological sex recorded at birth and is immutable, as found in the April 2025 judgment of the UK Supreme Court in For Women Scotland versus Scottish ministers. That illogical and legally absurd judgment did not clarify the law. It fundamentally changed it, robbing trans people of the protections intended to be given to them by the UK Parliament under the 2004 Gender Recognition Act and 2010 Equality Act to be treated for the Equality Act purposes in their acquired gender as required by the European Convention on Human Rights. The effect has been to further degrade the UK standing on LGBT matters to the level of pariah states such as Russia and Romania. Across Europe and internationally, independent human rights institutions have already raised concerns about the UK's regression on LGBT equality. These are not partisan campaign groups. They are formal bodies charged with monitoring compliance with human rights standards. The Council of Europe has repeatedly warned that the UK is experiencing a concerning rise in anti-trans rhetoric and urged the government to ensure that trans people's rights are not eroded. The Parliamentary Assembly has highlighted the UK as a case study in backsliding on LGBT protections.
The UN independent expert on sexual orientation and gender identity has expressed concern about the UK's departure from established human rights norms, noting that policies that restrict access to facilities or legal recognition risk violating the rights to privacy, dignity, and non discrimination. Oh, For Women Scotland is one of the many gender critical groups in the UK. I've heard of them. I've heard of that group. There's a lot. There's a lot of anti trans groups in the UK. It's bad. ILGA Europe, the continent's leading independent human rights monitor, has documented the UK's dramatic fall in its annual Rainbow Map ranking from first place in Europe in 2015 to 22nd in 2026, citing legislative stagnation, hostile political discourse, and weakening institutional protections for trans people. The European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance has warned that the UK's public debate has become increasingly hostile towards trans people and that legal and policy developments must be assessed carefully to avoid discriminatory impact. Taken together, these assessments show that the UK's trajectory is not merely a domestic political dispute, it is recognized internationally as a serious human rights regression. The EHRC's new code of practice, grounded in the Supreme Court's biological sex interpretation, places the UK further out of alignment with European human rights standards and with the principles of dignity, equality, and non-discrimination in that the UK treaty is treaty bound to uphold. The UK Labour Party did not need to accept this position as the continued backsliding of trans human rights. It has an unanswerable majority in Parliament. The simplicity of the legal changes needed to reverse the Supreme Court's rush of blood to the head, and how Labour MPs were clear how wrong this position is, given the support for Nadia Whittam's early day motion on this issue and the cowardly MPs who acknowledged the position but would not publicly sign the motion, citing reasons such as party policy. Many trans people, not least those who have enjoyed recognition and acceptance in their gender for over 20 years in the UK, tell us that they will not be cooperating with the cruelty of trans women being forced into male spaces and vice versa. Translucent have consulted legal experts in both criminal and civil law first. Unlike bathroom bills in the USA, there is no criminal element to the relevant UK legislation. A trans person using gender-appropriate facilities for their intended purpose in the UK commits no offense. If asked to leave the premises by the person who owns or controls these premises, anyone should leave those facilities, and not to do so might arguably lead to a breach of the peace, civil trespass, and reason to involve the police. In fact, the relevant legislation puts all the responsibility on the service provider who, the Equality and Human Rights Commission say, has no obligation in most circumstances to police gender, but must respond to complaints, for example, from another user. Paul. And now the problems start to multiply. There is no obligation in the UK to carry identity documents or produce them, certainly to a service provider. If they are provided, gender markers are commonly charged for trans people, so they do not help. How the Supreme Court thinks sex at birth will be proved in the cinema at Godalming on a wet Tuesday evening is a considerable mystery. There is also no obligation for a trans person to answer questions about their gender. There are many more gender non-conforming people in the UK than trans people. A rough estimate, for example, is that there are perhaps 40 times as many masculine-presenting lesbians in the UK as trans women. Given these statistics, the evidence from the USA bathroom bills that it is gender non-conforming cis people who the biological sex approach inconveniences in vastly greater numbers than trans people when the toilet police spring into action is unsurprising. Important. Questioning of a person, trans or cis, on suspicion of their being trans in an inappropriate way, for example, in front of other members of the public, may well be unlawful harassment under both the Equality and Harassment Acts. Public challenge or berating of a person suspected to be trans by a member of the self-appointed toilet police may well be unlawful harassment, and probably is. But service providers do remain in control of their premises. To remain when asked to leave is a civil trespass, and the civil police might get involved. So to summarize, trans people commit no criminal offense by using gender-appropriate facilities. Service providers should respond to complaints by users, but how they do so appropriately is a mystery. Trans people are under no obligation to provide documents or answer questions. You can just walk away from the confrontation. Unpleasant treatment of trans or suspected trans people by members of the public or service providers may well be unlawful harassment. If asked to leave the premises by the person in charge, comply and seek legal advice. We'll be watching this closely to see how this nonsense pans out, so do let us know. Be safe, Translucent. It's good. Let me see. I have one. I'm going to also include two other documents on the UK ban. I wanted to pull up the piece to that gal. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's what I need. I need that. I need it. My baby takes the morning train. He works on 9 to 5 and then I don't do to find me waiting for him. All right, here we go. This I think is what I want. Wait, is this what I want? No. Shit. Where is it? Oh, wait. I think I know where it is. Sorry. Excuse me, Barry. Sorry. Pardon me coming through. My baby takes the morning train. He works from 9 till 5 and then where's my gal thing? Oh man. Damn. Hold on. Do 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 da 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 da. My baby takes the morning train. I need to go to the UK Parliament can overturn the use. Well, that's interesting. Meowing. I was wondering about that because I know the reference to the Supreme Court. That's very interesting. I don't know if I would like that here or if I would not like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Is that I don't know. Oh, it's all so tough. There's also many bad people. Dun, 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 to find me waiting for him. Where's this fucking thing? Okay, I gotta go to Signal. Money penny. Here we go. Yes, this is what I wanted. All right, this is an article shared last night in Signal by Gal Suburban, and it fits right in with our conversation today about trans rights. So I wanted to share it with you. And this one is also going to be a tough one. Tell cis women are being harassed. Oh, all cis women are being harassed at public restrooms and losing their jobs over accusations of being trans if they complain about being harassed. The hate doesn't stop at their target. Absolutely. It does ricochet. I know. I'm amazed at the supposedly no, there's that is like it's similarly but very differently structured government, right? Their upper house is a lifetime appointment, whereas ours is the Senate. Interesting. House of Lords is their upper house. Oh, okay. I don't really understand the parliamentary system. I should figure that out. I missed you too, Hags. Wait, Paul gave us some coin. Before we do this, I'm gonna drink some coin. Let's do a song for Paul. Paul deserves a song. Let's see. What song are we gonna do, Paul? Hold on. What song are we gonna do? Oh, here we go. This one's for Paul. That's right. I sent some gold coin. 10 big jewels. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Paul. It's a cute little coin, too. It's like a little 4-leaf clover on it. So short men could be trans men. By the way, my nephew is trans, is fully accepted by family and is much happier. That's right. Tell tall cis women. I mean, people are tall and short. What about the lard coin? Whatever happened to the LA Riot Dino coin? Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for sharing that. I love that. God, can you imagine if our Senate was lifetime? I mean, isn't it already in some ways? Yes. While lack of personal contact makes people vulnerable to propaganda, explaining how this fear spreads doesn't excuse the hate. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, Max. He's a teacher and quit because of the current environment. I imagine, Paul. So think about that. Think about that. You have to quit your job because you're afraid of what people are going to do to you or come for you. And so for all those idiots out there who say, I don't understand why trans people are so upset. It's because they can't live their lives in full. And I just want you to really fucking think about that. I just really want you I get great joy. I don't know if I get anything from them, Paul, and I don't want your money. I want you to be here and have fun. So hopefully it's just a hype thing. I think it's just a hype thing. I mean, you don't have to pay for those, do you? Please don't pay for any of those things. I'll sing you guys songs. You just tell me you want a song and I'll sing you a song. But, this is my point. My point is that someone who is a trans person who might have been a wonderful teacher, let's say, or a plumber or whatever they might be, all of a sudden cannot be what they want to be because they're afraid of being either attacked, defamed, whatever. I mean, who wants to live their life like that? Libs of TikTok. She is such a pain in the fucking ass. Is currently targeting a trans teacher and claiming her very existence in the school violates parents' rights. Cause their kids to end up asking questions about trans people. I'm going to tell you right now, that Libs of TikTok cunt, she needs to get the fuck off the planet. Get the fuck off the planet. Get the fuck off the planet, bitch. You fucking cow. Fucking hate it. I dropped a TikTok about the cis women at the restroom story from Tizzy. People swallow scary propaganda because they don't know any actual trans people, but being a gullible couch potato doesn't excuse me to pick it exactly. All right. So this is going to be a little hard to hear too. This is inside the secretive boards deciding trans troop fates. This was shared by Gal last night. The Pentagon is relying on closed-door hearings to kick out transgender service members. An Army Reserve lawyer is one of the few who have seen how they really work. This is from, I'm going to share this whole article. I'll do this now. Hold on. My baby takes the morning train. Visibility is really important, isn't it? Isn't it? It's just really fucking important. All right, this is an unlocked article that I'm about to read, and so I thought I'd share it with you now in case you don't come back for the links later on, but you want to read it. This is bad. This is from a couple days ago. How does someone that identifies as non-binary murder people? I don't get that. I don't know if that's funny or not. Haggard. Apparently, points are accumulated to send those goodies, though I think you can spend for more. Okay, just don't spend any money, okay? Sustained visibility is eventually what makes the propaganda ineffective. I agree. This is why I think things like Mamdani winning and El Sayed winning and other things, I think them winning and showing, getting the opportunity to show their stuff is really what changes people's hearts and minds, frankly. It's certainly a good tool in that quiver. She had lost 26 of her 27 cases, a string of defeats and disappointments unlike anything she had experienced in her legal career. It's my first time getting kicked in the face over and over, Priya Rashid was telling another lawyer over the phone. She looked over at client number 28, who was sitting in a hearing room where a separation board would soon decide whether to force him to leave the military. He was a 33-year-old transgender Army captain named Kai Pros. He grimaced at the thought of what was to come. Sorry, Ms. Rashid said. Last year, Defense Secretary Pete Pigsbreath issued an order that effectively forced all trans troops out of the military. Many of the more than 4,000 who were serving accepted that the Pentagon was going to force them out and took a cash payout to leave quickly. But others decided to stay and fight, taking their cases to special separation boards set up by the military. The boards operate like court proceedings with lawyers and a panel of 3 officers who decide whether to retain or remove the service member. It is the same process the military uses to determine whether it should kick out troops who abuse drugs, beat their spouses, or steal. And that's the person we're talking about, Captain Prose, and that's Rashid, the lawyer. The Pentagon has treated the trans separation hearings with levels of security and silence usually reserved for state secrets. They take place behind closed doors on military bases. There are no cameras and no transcripts. The public is not allowed to attend. I made a reply saying Paul's coin isn't 88% copper like Trump's and it didn't send. Most of the households in my building just continue to misgender our trans neighbor. That's the big part. By intentionally misgendering or dead naming or something, that is harmful. I don't know why people don't feel that that's a harmful activity, but it is. And you can make mistakes, right? Like I've made so many mistakes with trans people over the years by misgendering them, and that is my fault. And I, at the time when people correct me, I am so grateful because I feel terrible because I know that you're really talking about someone's identity. And that's so personal. That's so personal. But it does happen. And the important thing to do, I think, in those cases is just to say, oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I mean, I think I shouldn't speak for the trans community, but I think it's okay to make mistakes and be corrected and be gracious about it. It's intentional harm if you do it just because you're lazy or, whatever. Because pronouns do matter, because that's an identity. Those are people's identity. So yeah, it matters. In some cases, service members' spouses and even the service members themselves are kept out. One of the few people who have seen this process over multiple hearings at multiple bases is Miss Rashid. What she has seen are troops who are deployed around the world and earn the respect of their peers. They waited patiently, in some cases for years, until the Pentagon finally told them that they could serve openly. Yeah. Now, separation boards, afforded almost no leeway by the Trump administration, were punishing them for it. It's in a lot of ways a public humiliation ritual, Ms. Rashid said in an interview. Going in, I had hoped I was paranoid and board's outcomes were not predetermined. It turned out to be much worse than I thought. The Pentagon declined to comment. At least 6 of Ms. Rashid's clients were barred from attending their own separation board hearings because they refused to cut their hair and appear in the uniform of their sex assigned at birth. One was a master sergeant in South Korea with 17 years of service who was allowed to testify by video, but only if she turned off her camera. I have gone to pretrial confinement hearings where somebody is so addicted to meth that they are throwing up on my shoes, Ms. Rashid said. They were allowed to come into their own hearing. For Captain Prose's hearing in June, she had assembled a nearly 500-page binder that included his personnel records, his military awards, 24 letters testifying to his character, and hundreds of pages of policy papers and legal arguments. Oh, look at the pop-up. I the pop-up. The night before his hearing, Ms. Rashid and Captain Prose rehearsed his testimony one last time. Ms. Rashid asked him about his 11 years in the Army. He talked about arriving at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point when he was 18 and training to shoot down incoming enemy missiles as an air defense officer. He deployed to Korea and the Middle East. His last assignment was at West Point, where he mentored 125 cadets and worked for the commandant, who described him in his final performance review as an exceptional leader. Captain Prose is easily in the top 1% of officers I have served with in 29 years of service, he wrote. Before they broke for the night, Ms. Rashid reminded Captain Prose to make eye contact with Army officers on the panel who would decide his fate. It's harder to sucker punch somebody if they're looking you in the eye, she told him. She packed up her whiteboard and exhibits around 10 p.m. How are you feeling? Ms. Rashid asked. I'm not going to be able to sleep, Captain Prose replied. Mr. Trump was only a few days into his second term when he issued the an executive order proclaiming that being transgender conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, and ordering the Pentagon to ban all trans troops. Mr. Hegseth was blunter. No more dudes in dresses, he announced. Oh, his end is going to be amazing. It is. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for reminding me as a perfect response. Thank you for that, Meowing Star, because I think it's important to know. I think people can make mistakes. I certainly can. So, and I'm happy if somebody points it out and I'm able to gracefully say, gosh, I'm really sorry about that. Thank you for that. So, it's okay to be human. It's okay to be human. But, it's important too. It's important to be mindful and human. Their words described a problem Ms. Rashid said she had never encountered. She had grown up on military bases as the child of an Army doctor who had immigrated from India. The Army had helped her mother get her citizenship and pay her medical school loans. Ms. Rashid, 33, had joined the Army Reserves in 2020 as a lawyer. Trans troops had been allowed to serve openly since 2016. In Mr. Dump's first term, he blocked transgender people from joining, but allowed those already in the military to continue serving. The Biden administration lifted any restrictions on transgender service members in 2021. He's preparing. Ms. Rashid reviewing legal strategy. Okay. In every assignment, officer training, legal work, deployment to the Middle East, Ms. Rashid had served with transgender soldiers who had largely been accepted and had thrived, she said. When the Trump ban was announced, she knew trans troops would need experienced lawyers, so she called the colonel in charge of the Army's defense attorneys and asked to be assigned to represent them. The colonel told her to stand down. Trans troops were not being charged with crimes, he explained, and did not require experienced lawyers like her. We were both laughing afterwards that I dead named her. Once our mutual shock passed, we were like, where did that come from? I'm telling you, it can kind of happen. I'm telling you, I've done it before. I have dear friends who are transgender and have transitioned, and I still have made a mistake once in a while. Not often, but I have made a mistake. So I get it. But it's important to just be mindful. Just be a human. Can we be humans, please? And just say, "Gosh, I'm sorry I did that. Thank you for telling me." As a new Army lieutenant, Ms. Rashid had been told it was her job to be the constitution in the room for the troops facing discipline. That ethos had led her to take cases that other Army lawyers refused. Soldiers arrested at the January 6th riot, soldiers who refused to get the COVID vaccine, soldiers accused of sexually abusing children. I mean, yeah, it does, but, be gracious. I don't know. Be mindful. She told the colonel that she wanted to be that same advocate for the trans troops who were fighting to hold on to their careers. I got a hard no, she recalled. If the Army was not going to assign her, she decided she would assign herself. Army Reserve lawyers can take on private clients as long as there is no conflict with their military duties. Working as a civilian attorney, she and a handful of other lawyers reached out to trans soldiers through an online support group that was fighting the ban. She thought they would end up with at most a few dozen clients. They have now advised 600. They represent all of them for free. We just can't turn people away, she said. I think right now we have a budget of like $8. The separation boards began hearing cases in February. At that point, the Pentagon was required to assign the trans troops military lawyers. Ms. Rashid continued representing them as a civilian. Her first client was a military police sergeant named Clara Davis. She was tall with long auburn hair and a stack of glowing performance reviews. The evidence Ms. Rashid submitted on her behalf included a memo from her battalion commander who, at risk of retaliation from the Pentagon, recommended that the Army let her serve. It was a very brave thing, Ms. Rashid recalled. Oh, that's the Hudson River. Nice. Oh, that's a pig. Not nice. The hearing at Schofield Barracks in Schofield. The hearing at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii was unlike any of the hundreds of criminal cases and separation boards Miss Rashid had handled in her military career. The Army ordered Sergeant Davis to appear with a male haircut and uniform. Sergeant Davis was willing, but Miss Rashid said no. The Army is not allowed to take away your dignity, she said, and I'm not going to ask you to do it either. The Army barred Sergeant Davis from entering the hearing room, so she listened from a room down the hall via a bad cell phone connection. Ms. Rashid presented testimony from 25 soldiers who described Sergeant Davis as an asset to the Army. The core of the hearing, though, focused on her gender dysphoria diagnosis. The Trump administration's ban targeted troops with gender dysphoria, a medical condition defined by at least 6 months of significant distress or impairment because of gender incongruence. Such troops would break under the stress of combat, the Trump administration contended. Not all transgender people experience gender dysphoria. Like many medical insurers, the Pentagon had required transgender troops to get a gender dysphoria diagnosis before they could receive hormone therapy or transition. But we just said not all transgender people experience that. Ms. Rashid argued that Sergeant Davis had sought out the diagnosis so that she could get access to treatment even though she did not experience gender dysphoria. The sergeant's strong service record proved she was never impaired or in distress and was not suffering from gender dysphoria, Ms. Rashid said. Her diagnosis was essentially used as a trap, she argued. The board deliberated for 2 hours and then voted to kick her out. After the verdict, Ms. Rashid found Sergeant Davis in her room down the hall. She hugged her client. We were right, Ms. Rashid said through tears, and it didn't matter. In the months that followed, Ms. Rashid represented trans troops at bases all over the country, sometimes sleeping in her clients' spare bedrooms to save money. As a lawyer and an officer, she had felt the need to maintain a professional distance from her clients. The trans troops were different. I don't feel like that boundary has to be there, she said. As the losses mounted, she was stunned to see soldiers so quickly dismiss other soldiers who, just like them, had spent years in uniform. Oh, that is Davis. Sergeant Davis. One was Major Kara Corcoran, 40, who led an infantry platoon in combat in Afghanistan. On the day of her hearing, she was 5 days short of the 18 years service she needed to secure her pension and health care benefits for herself and her 2 daughters. The government struck half of her character witnesses, arguing that her competence had been established. The question for the board was whether she was a good soldier, but whether she had gender dysphoria. The 3 board members concluded that she did and kicked her out, but they recommended that the Pentagon make an exception and allow her to receive her retirement benefits. She is still waiting on a final ruling from the Army. People need to know that this whole thing is cruelty, Major Corcoran said in an interview. It was intentionally designed to hurt us. Ms. Rashid had hoped that the hearings would be therapeutic for her clients, a chance to show that they were honorable, truthful, and disciplined soldiers. But as the losses piled up, her view shifted. Did I just put this person through hell? She often asked herself after a loss. The defeats were also taking a toll on her. She believed that all her transgender cases were winnable. Each new defeat brought a new wave of frustration, anger, and guilt. Did I not explain things in a way that resonated? She would ask herself. Am I missing something? Am I supposed to be saying something different? Then something completely unexpected happened. The case involved a sergeant first class who worked with classified electronics and had deployed around the world. The soldier showed up to her hearing in a civilian skirt suit, her hair up in a bun, fully expecting that she would be barred from her own hearing. At the last minute, Ms. Rashid suggested that she change into camouflage and boots. The officer overseeing the board allowed her into the hearing room. That gave Ms. Rashid a bit of ammunition. The accused could speak directly to the board members about her decade-long service and show them that she was not a dude in a dress, as Mr. Pig's Breath had often asserted. She was a soldier who had followed the rules and transitioned after the ban on trans people serving in the military was lifted in 2016. The hearing ended. We did the best we could, Ms. Rashid told the sergeant as they waited for a decision. A few hours later, the 3-person board returned and announced that it had voted to retain her. Ms. Rashid was so stunned that the verdict did not register. She had assumed they had lost again. Then she saw the board members shaking the sergeant's hand. The victory was a glimmer of hope. Other losses followed. Still, she thought she had finally found an approach that could win. Now it was time for case number 28. The heavy wooden door at the West Point hearing room swung shut. Ms. Rashid sat down at the defense table next to Captain Prosy, who wore his Army camouflage uniform. His hair was cropped short in a style that met Army regulations for either a man or a woman. Oh, look at the puppies. Oh, this is Captain Prosy and his wife in their backyard. And there she is. The New York Times pieced together what happened next through the interviews with the participants and notes from the hearing. Ms. Rashid argued that Captain Prosy's stellar military record proved that he had never experienced a period of distress or impairment that prevented him from excelling at his job. He was transgender, she acknowledged, but he had never suffered from gender dysphoria. She called Colonel Chad Foster, West Point's deputy commandant, who was Captain Prosy's last boss. He described Captain Prosy as a mentor to the cadets, someone they regularly sought out for advice about personal problems or Army life. He would happily serve with Captain Prosy again if he testified. Ms. Rashid called Captain Jessica Jackson, who worked alongside Captain Prosy as an air defender. She remembered him as the best officer in their battalion. And Ms. Rashid called Captain Prosy, who took a seat in the witness box at the front of the hearing room. He reminded himself to make eye contact with the 3 colonels on the board. Captain Prosy talked about his grandfather, a former enlisted soldier who had been wounded fighting in Vietnam. He sat me down and told me that the officers never seemed to care about their soldiers and made decisions with seemingly no regard for their lives, Captain Prosy said. He made me promise that I would be fast, fair, sure, and above all else, honorable. He then recounted his 11 years in the Army, which had taken him to Korea, the Middle East, Texas, and Oklahoma, and the 20-minute exam by an Army psychiatric nurse in 2021 that now threatened to end his career. He had welcomed her diagnosis, which had allowed him to transition. If I can have this happiness, why would I forgo it? He asked. The Army's case boiled down to a few simple facts. Captain Prosy had been diagnosed with gender dysphoria and sought out gender-affirming care, including hormone therapy. The language of the Trump ban was clear, the Army's lawyer said. The captain needed to go. The board members spent 3 hours deliberating in a small room with a coffee maker and a view of West Point parking lot. When they returned, Captain Prosy noticed that they were avoiding eye contact with him. He knew he had lost. Miss Rashid gathered her binders containing the story of Captain Prosy's life and career in a cardboard box. I think we can head out, she said, her voice cracking. Captain Prosy was quiet. Are you going to be okay? She asked. She had started to cry. Don't worry about me, he replied. I'll be fine. I'm worried about you. The losses were breaking her faith in the Army, which had been part of her life since childhood. I don't recognize the military anymore. She stood in the hall, tears in her eyes, and checked her phone. She saw a new email from the Army. Her next client separation board hearing was a couple of weeks away. So, yeah, I would imagine. Oren, thank you for your service. You know what this is all about. Oren, did you say you were in the armed services before Don't Ask, Don't Tell? Were you before, I think didn't Clinton remove that? I can't remember now. Isn't that terrible? I can't remember. But I think Don't Ask, Don't Tell. You were part of that. I had to suffer through that. This is my thing, people. All right, this is my thing. The attack on the trans community is real, very real, and significant. And this is why, especially Democrat, yes, under Reagan. Thank you. I thought I remember recalling you say that. So you had to serve as a queer woman and hide who you were. I'm just telling you, like, the fact that if you imagine that you're told that a part of you who you are is not, shouldn't be public, is viewed as untoward, is looked down on. Yeah, of course. They won't stop there. Yeah. It's but that's why I feel that that trans rights are perhaps one of the most important issues in our politics. And if you miss the opportunity to support human rights and civil rights, we're fucked. And that's why I think Democrats have a real opportunity here that they better not fuck up, and they shouldn't. Otherwise, I'm not a Democrat. If they're not going to stand up for trans people, then I'll just be whatever I'm going to be. I don't know. This seems like a no-brainer to me, right? Like, it just seems like a no-brainer. So if any of you chuddy wuds want to have a conversation about why human and civil rights don't apply to a certain group of people, I'm happy to have that conversation, but you're not going to like it, because you're going to be pointed out to be the bigot that you are. And I'm sorry, that's what you are. If you're scared of trans people, then you're a bigot. I'm sorry. I have no more time for the coddling. I have no more time for the, oh, let me help you understand. I have no more time for that. I'm going to share the information with you, and you're going to hopefully react like a human would react. So let it be said, there will be revolutions in this country, and they must include everyone. Period. Get over yourselves. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Just get over yourselves. Same here. If the DNC is going to start throwing people under the bus to protect billionaires' feelings, I'm done. Yeah, 100%. I'm going to vote for candidates that are pro-democracy and pro-human and civil rights, period. And I hope to God they're Democrats, which I know they're not going to be Republicans, so I don't have to worry about that. 100%. It's not pie. Rights are not pie. There's enough. There's enough to go around. And life is so much better when everyone is thriving. You know. And if you for some reason feel like trans or LGBTQ people are less than, then you don't get to actually, you're disinvited from brunch. You don't get all the good parts of being a good human if you are going to be an asshole. Sorry. I did see the collab with, I just watched a part of it. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see that Valhalla reached out to Keith, what's his name, Edwards, and got on his show yesterday. That's pretty cool. Or yesterday or day before. I can't remember. But yeah, they were talking about who's gay in the administration? Oh no, it was the Hunter Biden thing. By the way, I don't need to hear from Hunter Biden. I think it's a mistake. I think it is a mistake to have Hunter Biden become like the voice of the Democrats or anything. I really do. I think it's a mistake. I think it's too soon. I think it's a bad PR move. And I think I don't really give a flying fuck, and I don't want to hear about, I don't need to hear anything from Hunter Biden. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't give a shit. I just don't give a shit. I like to compare what's happening to trans people as the test for stripping people of rights, and immigrants are the test for what you can do to those deemed to have no rights. Oh, this is a very good way of putting it. That's a very good way of putting it, is trans people are the test for stripping people of rights, and immigrants are the test for what you can do to those deemed to have no rights. Well said. Well said. All right. I think I'm going to call it. Man, Meowing Star, I cannot thank you enough, my sister, for sharing all of these incredible stories and links with us and educating on what is happening in the trans world. And I know we've just scratched the surface. I know we have just scratched the surface. And we're not stopping. We're not going to stop. But I just want to thank you, Meowing, because I know you put some work into to providing these links, and I really, really, really appreciate it. So please, let's stand up for each other. Let's make it a more perfect union. Let's all have brunch. Very welcome to share, and very grateful for you sharing it with the lounge. Absolutely. It's long overdue. Long overdue. All right. I am going to leave you for this morning. Happy Friday. But guess what? Guess what, bitches? Guess what tonight is? Guess what tonight is? Who wants to do some trivia? Whoop, 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 whoopity, whoop, 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 whoop. Trivia, trivia. Wait, we have a trivia song. Hold on. Wait, where's the trivia song? It's kind of a ridiculous song because it really, it actually, wait, where is it? I think it's this one. Here we go. It's time for trivia. It's time for trivia. Really? Trivia's back, baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the trivia song, but it's too long and there's too many words. It's trivia night. See you tonight. Thank you, babe. Thank you, babe. All right, we're back, baby. Or maybe you would like him. You seem to prefer video content. Oh, you might like Keith. Keith Edwards kind of bugs me. I'll be honest. He's really clickbaity. I got to be honest. He's like all those other guys. What's his name? Luke Beasley and all those guys. They're so clickbaity. That's the only thing that bothers me. Bye, Heather and Todd. See you later, alligators. You might like him. He's okay. Oh, Teresa, thank you. It's been a very educational day. And thanks to Meowing Star. Thanks, Teresa. Yeah. Jack Cocciarelli is a master of burying the lead. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, there's he looks like a person who serves vanilla brain pudding. He might. I don't really like those guys. I don't really like the guys that are clickbaity. I'm sorry. Sometimes I watch them just to see what's happening. Anyway. All right. I love you guys. Thanks again for coming to this show. This is an important show. And we're going to continue this conversation because fuck, man, we're not giving up. You're going to have to go through us. All right. Okay. Yeah, he is. He is actually. Keith Edwards is gay. I didn't know that until he said it. So I didn't realize that. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I try not to click. I try not to click too. I do watch it if it's something that I think I want to actually like learn about, but then I end up never learning about it. Yeah, sometimes Luke is good. It has been a good show. I like this show. I feel like I learned something. I hope y'all learned something. I hope the people who hate me learn something. And I'll see you guys tonight for trivia. Fuck, man, we're in, baby. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm gonna come up with some fun opening for it. How about that? Yeah. All right. But it's time for me to send you on your way. But just let me tell you, I love you. If I don't see you tonight, then please have a wonderful weekend. And yes, movies are coming back to Discord for tomorrow night. So we got to talk about movies tonight. So put your thinking caps on because we got to talk about movies tonight. All right. Bye.